Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, perhaps your favorite weekly games podcast.
Undoubtedly.
My name is Kerry. Wait, what?
Undoubtedly.
Oh yeah, no, definitively. Yeah, absolutely. No question about it. Me over here talking, undoubtedly, is Kerry Palmer. Who's that over there talking?
Who could it be?
I don't know.
Could be anyone. It's me.
I have my doubts.
It's me, Jeremy. I don't usually introduce myself, so I'm.
Oh, Jeremy, hi.
Hi, Gary. What are you doing here?
I just thought I'd see what Minimap was up to this week. How about you?
Yeah, nothing much. I'm doing the same. My understanding is that they're doing a podcast this evening. That is the word that I'm getting in.
Sources say.
Yeah. I'm getting new information that they are indeed doing the intro of their podcast.
Oh right. I wonder I hope it's going better than whatever the hell we're doing. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I couldn't sort out my hair today, Jeremy. I've let it go for too long, and I need to do something about it.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I need to do something to it. It's getting unyieldly.
I am hours away from just going to town.
Yeah, just shaving it again.
Yeah, just shaving. Maybe trying to see if I could do something like semi decent with like different lengths or a fade or whatever, and let myself potentially mess it up. So then I can just be like, yep, all right. See ya.
Yeah. Well, that was my rule for when I bleached my hair was like, oh, I'll try for a little bit, but if I don't like it, then I'll just shave it. But I did like it, so I was thinking of bleaching it again, sometime soon.
Do you remember when I sent you that photo?
Which,
Jeremy, earlier this week, I sent you a photo of me with very long hair and you with very blonde hair.
Yeah.
2 houses ago.
Yes, it was 2 houses ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it kind of blew my mind. I was clearing out my hard drives, all those WAV files that I kept saving. I'm like, why is this Minimap folder 150 gigabytes large?
Yeah, that would have been when you were recording local audio.
Yeah.
And saving him in
but
.wav,
it was also when I was recording WAV files, not MP3s.
Yeah, bloody lunatic. You're saving him in WAV.
And then, to be fair to myself, there are also video files in there from the the times that I edited those. But it's
Here's funny. I think I'm glad I'm at the point in my life where I'm just like, fuck it, like ruin it. Like I don't care. I'll just get rid of it and then try again in a month or two. My hair grows quite fast.
Yeah, that's good.
So like if I fuck it up, like the thing that I always say is that there's no such thing as a bad haircut a week later, at least for me. Because that makes sense. Yeah,
I like that.
It just grows out and evens out a little bit, and then it doesn't even look like you had a bad haircut.
I feel like I have undervalued my hair during my life, and now I'm getting to the point where it's starting to thin out a little bit at the front, and I'm like, oh fuck. I should have done something with it.
Yeah, right.
I don't want it to change, but also I never did anything fun with it. So I'm like, it's over.
Yeah. I did have a thing.
My life is ruined.
I did have a thing that I wanted to talk about just before we jump into the podcast as well.
Please.
Which was so this episode, spoilers for anybody that has not read the title of the episode that you're listening to, but it's going to be a big year in review episode where we look back at 2023. And sort of just try and figure it the fuck out because we sure couldn't do that on the fly.
We've been building this show for 2 hours.
yeah, just
1.5.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because last night, so Saturday night I went out, went to a bar with some friends, and then that turned into going clubbing until like 3 a.m. Which was not how I expected my night to go, but that's how it went. Which was good fun. I had a good time doing that. But then Sunday I was feeling quite tired and a little bit sorry. And so I just sort of like chilled out at home.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah, like I did my house cleaning for the week and you know did the washing and stuff like that, and that was all good. And then it got to about 7 or 8 p.m. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna order some dinner because it's too late for me to bother cooking because I've already cleaned a lot this today. So I'm just gonna order some food, and I'm gonna pull out my laptop. I'm gonna do the get all the information for today's episode on my laptop. And while I did that, I like popped on a film. And because the movie Heat from 1993 is getting a sequel quite soon. With Adam Driver.
Hotter.
Yeah, Heat 2 hotter. And so I was like, oh well, like I haven't seen Heat in about 10 years. I'll pop that on while I'm
It's a heist movie, right?
Yeah.
Al Pacino and
Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Robert De Niro. Yep. Yeah. Hank Azaria's got a role in it. Who else?
Dope.
Huh?
It's dope.
That's not Hank Azaria.
Isn't it?
Nope. That's Dan Castanella is the voice of Homer. Hank Azaria is Mo.
Oh, fucking whatever. Yeah. That's fine. That's close enough for me. I'm happy with that.
And like a handful of others. And so I popped it on for a little bit and I started to do a little bit of work, and then I kept watching the film and I did a little bit less work and I kept watching the film, and then that 3-hour film I just watched instead of doing any work. Because let me tell you, Heat is one of the greatest fucking movies ever made.
That's what people say.
It is like outstanding. Like, and like I knew that. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But fuck, is it just thrilling and gripping and exciting and, you know, like, and like,
is it 3 hours?
It's like 2 3/4.
Wow, for bloody 1992 or whatever, that's a long movie.
I mean, kind of. Like, Titanic was around then.
Titanic was like 99.
Right. I'm like they had long movies back then, but like,
and that's a long movie.
Oh yeah, no, Titanic is too long. But yeah. Like Heat is just fucking awesome, and it's funny because like there is so much of the DNA of the Dark Knight in Heat. It is like. And so like I did a review for it on Letterboxd, and the first thing I said was Heat ran so the Dark Knight could walk, because it is like Dark Knight looked at Heat being like, I would love to tell a Batman story like Heat, but even with characters like Batman and Two-Face and the Joker and the crime family, it doesn't reach that high of just the intense like group of villains in that film, and Al Pacino as the most coked out cop that you could possibly imagine. He is intense all the way through, and it's amazing because you don't see him do coke at all in that film. But
it's amazing.
Like that dude is on, like on all the way, and because like it's implied, but it's not explicitly stated. So some people watch the film and don't realize this. But the way that I remembered that, oh yeah, this guy's meant to be on coke the whole film, is because he speeds to a stop every single time he was driving his car.
Oh, he's like.
Yeah. Like even like he like turns into just like a little shopping strip and just parks in one of just like a parking spot at the side of a shop, and is going like 60 and slams on the brakes to get into the parking stop. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot he's meant to be like so on coke this whole film. It is so good. It's so
Jeremy,
fucking good.
Would you believe it if I said that I don't think I've ever seen anything with Al Pacino in it?
That would both not surprise me and make me sad. There's a wide world for you to watch. I mean, like The Godfather is the obvious immediate one. But like Scarface, Heat.
I've seen Home Alone 2. That's good enough.
Huh?
Home Alone 2.
What about Home Alone 2?
He's watching Scarface when he's in the hotel in New York.
Oh, and he goes to say hello to my little friend. Does he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because there's the film in the first one, which is the like, keep the change, you filthy animal.
Right.
And that's not a real movie. I don't know if you're aware of this, but
I think you've told me this before.
Yeah, the keep the change, you filthy. That was a film that was a shot filmed for this film.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really funny. But what it did is over the course of the next 20 years, it caused people to be like, oh, I wonder what that movie is, then Googling it and not being able to find it.
It's like that tweet that went viral the other week about trying to find a specific song from
The X-Files.
The X-Files.
Yeah, that was a great thread.
Hey, let's stop talking about the 90s and start talking about the 2023s.
Do we have to?
It's why we're here, Jeremy.
Oh. Anyway, you should watch Heat.
Yeah, I'll put it on the list.
Yeah, it's really good.
That list do be getting longer though, I tell you what. Hey everyone, thanks for being here. We're gonna talk to you about video games now. We're gonna talk to you about the past year. Not so much the games, not game of the year and all of that, not our ratings. That's coming in the coming weeks. But but sort of the events, things that happened month by month, day by day. Not day by day, that would take too long. Probably would take too long already. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. If that sounds interesting to you, then hey, great, you're in the right place. That place is the MiniMapCast, where we go live on all podcast platforms every Wednesday with 24 hours of early access given to all of our wonderful patrons. More on that in just a second. If you like what you're hearing, I've got bad news. That's the first time we've ever spoken about Heat, and I'd be surprised if there was another, but don't rule it out.
No, I don't think I've spoken about it on the podcast before.
No, but it's what I'm saying is I don't know if we'll do it again.
No, it's not exactly on the agenda.
No. Well,
maybe
Jeremy,
maybe if you
was
watch
it really on the agenda?
Yeah, it was related at least to the work I was attempting to do last night for this episode.
I see. Okay, yep.
But
fair enough.
But perhaps if you watch it, then we can talk about it.
I'm really busy, Christmas and this time of year. It's
good.
Nutty,
it's a good Christmas movie. It's a great Christmas film for the whole family.
Yeah, like Die Hard.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Die Hard's at least a Christmas movie. Like it feels like Christmas movie.
Just like Iron Man 3.
Yeah, also feels like a Christmas movie. Every Shane Black movie is a Christmas movie. That's just how that works.
I know. Hey everyone, if you like what you're hearing, again, it's rarely about movies. It's more usually about video games. But yeah, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to tell your friends and give the show a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. It makes a huge difference. If you want to get notified every time a new episode is released, you can follow us on the social accounts, on the social medias. That's at MiniMapAU for the MiniMap account on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and also Twitch, where we are live every Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for the live recording of the MiniMap cast. We always hang out with the chat before and after, and we'd love to see you there. And during as well. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the MiniMap cast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Finally, MiniMap is completely independent. I find that word harder to say every week. Independent. And funded almost entirely out of our own pockets. So if you wanted to help keep the mics and lights on, you can support us by becoming one of our patrons. Over there, that's only $5 a month. We'll get you 24 hours of early access for each episode of the MiniMap cast as it goes live, plus extra bonus features. So head on over to patreon.com/MiniMapAU to help us out. And remember, it's cheaper than a latte with oat milk. I don't know what's happening to my words. I almost didn't say remember. That's not a hard word.
Oh, remember's got a little bit of there's a little hurdle there.
Yeah, but it's common enough that like it's
no, but like
it's well-worn territory.
Yeah, but like
I almost said it with like a W or something. Remember.
Yeah, but like that's a fairly easy fumble to make, I think. Remember.
I don't like it, Yomi.
Doesn't matter. It's December 18, 2023.
Yeah.
What
Sure is.
What the fuck?
And good point, actually, Jeremy. So next week, when we would be recording this podcast, it will be literally Christmas Day. And
so you can expect us to be live at 7 p.m. No.
Well, yeah, no, Jeremy and I actually don't want to see each other on Christmas because we can't stand each other off camera.
That's so true.
So
we have fist fights all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually quite a Mythbusters-esque Jamie Heineman, Adam Savage dynamic we've got going on here. You can't tell. Because we're such consummate professionals, which is why I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah.
My point is, next in 7 days, when you would be hearing this show normally, you won't be, because we won't have recorded that episode yet. We may record one prior that goes up at the normal time later in the week on the Wednesday. But if we do, we'll probably live stream it because we always do, and we'll say that on the Twitters. But that'll either be this weekend or later next week.
Yeah, it'll be coming at some point before the end of the year. We just don't immediately know when yet because, as you can imagine, it's a busy time for one and all.
Yeah, there's something very interesting about this year, how Alex in the chat say mum and dad are getting a divorce. We're not getting a divorce. We're just unhappily married. There's something interesting about how this time of year, how the week before, how we normally record on the Monday, is the exact 1 week before Christmas. So Christmas is going to be next Monday, and everything's a bit off. Like if it was like we were recording on like the 21st. We would just record on the 21st, release on the 23rd, do Christmas, and then come back the next week and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But it's so inconveniently placed right now.
But also, is everybody this year just completely and utterly fucked right now? Like every single person I've spoken to
exhausted?
Is dead tired, like way more than I've ever seen. Like every person like that I speak to at work, I speak to outside of work, like my mom, my friends, everybody is like, I'm barely, like everybody I know is saying like I'm barely making it to the end of the fucking year.
I know Sam's that way. I'm okay, but for what I need to do to get ready for Christmas, I'm not. There's not enough time or energy. Like.
Yeah, it's like something about this year I think feels particularly off in a way that is like so bad. Everybody's having not a good time. No one's having a good time right now. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just like getting there. It's bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's strange. That's a good point.
Yeah. Oh well.
Hey, 2023.
Yeah.
Let's talk about everything that happened in it.
Mm-hmm.
Avid listeners, you will have heard us talk about a number of these subjects as we spoke about them on our weekly podcast, the MiniMapCast, each week as the things happened. However, we're going to sort of holistically wrap it up, go through it chronologically, and sort of look at what this year was as a whole. Jeremy, did you have a sort of an idea of how much to dive into each topic, or just play it case by case as we go through?
Yeah, it's going to be a case by case thing. We're going to jump around a little bit as with the nature of like we've got some topics in here that are have had more than one update throughout the year. So it's kind of hard to to figure out when we want to talk about certain things, like like game announced, game release, etc. But like for the most part, like it'll be in like chronological order. We'll give it as much time as we need, but like the episode has room to get into some of this stuff because it's been a big year. So getting through this is like it's a meaty subject. But for example, like I see here Street Fighter 6 coming out. Like neither of us played that game. I think I played the beta, but like neither of us properly like bought it when it came out and haven't played it. So like it's not going to be a thing that we're gonna like openly talk about a lot.
Nope.
But yeah, so like starting off, the first news story of this year was from January.
That we decided to mention, we should say. It probably wasn't the first one.
No, but like the first big game story of the year.
Did you reformat this table?
I made it just a little bit wider. Has that fucked up
Okay.
your formatting?
Sure has.
Sorry. And I'll undo that.
I now can't read the dates and the titles of the pages.
Okay, all right. How's that?
That's great. Thank you.
January 18, 2023. Google shut down Google Stadia. This like they had announced that they were going to shut it down last year, but like that was the date it actually shut down. What are you singing?
Like the last post, like a bastardized version of the last post.
Okay. This was a thing that I think no one really liked.
Stadia.
Yeah.
I think people were willing to like it. Like people signed on to be like, oh, this could be really cool. I'm really excited to see what it like. People bought that like founders pack.
The tech, yeah. I think the tech was the thing people go like, yeah, like this
and the promise.
This is something. But the pricing I think was immediately off-putting.
Yeah, and the execution of it, like so many of the features they promised weren't available at launch, and I think they only got a half of them ready by the time they binned it.
Yeah, and it never came to Australia, so we never got to properly try it.
Yeah, which is weird because we got the trial with Odyssey. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah, we did get the Odyssey trial. How strange.
Yeah. Maybe because of that trial. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a...
They'd also foreshadowed this. They'd announced this.
Yeah.
Like this was like waiting for the foot to drop.
Yeah, this wasn't news. Like this wasn't new news, but it was like this is when they shut it down. There are a couple things there that I think there are lessons that were learned from this that I think is interesting. Such as there were a couple games that got made exclusively for Stadia.
Yeah.
And those, I think for the most part, they've nearly all, if not all of them, have since released just onto PC now.
Yeah, a lot of the studios pivoted to try and get a release somewhere else.
Yeah. But I want to say that some of them still had to honor their contracts of like exclusivity, which is like, that can't have been good.
Well, some of the studios were too small as well, even.
Yeah.
And they couldn't afford to just go back.
And I think that like Stadia is a really good lesson in the dangers of that all digital future, that like the lack of ownership. Google, like they at least, and this is a thing that they realistically didn't have to do, but decided to just for PR reasons. They refunded everybody, the software and the hardware. They refunded at least.
They refunded the game purchases, right? I don't know about the hardware. I don't think they refunded controllers.
Right. I want to say that maybe they refunded founders packs or something, because there was something that they refunded that wasn't just software. I don't think they refunded the monthly cost, but I think that they refunded some of the controller purchases if you purchased directly from them during a specific window or something.
And they updated them to make them more universally useful, so they weren't just complete paperweights, so you could use them as a Bluetooth controller on other devices.
I think like the lessons were like they could have not done that, and then everybody would have been out that money, and potentially like those people who are making those games couldn't pivot, and suddenly because at that point, that's when the house of cards just falls, right? Like, which is a warning for, I think, a lot of these types of non-ownership styles of service. It's very easy for those to just disappear overnight. There was a thing semi-recently which reminded me of Stadia, which was Warner Brothers removing...
they removed the Watchmen series, didn't they?
I mean, there's that, but like they've been taking stuff off their streaming service all the time. But like I can't remember if it was I think it was Warner Brothers have stopped people who bought their movies and TV shows on the PlayStation Store from being able to access them, and there is no refunds happening there.
That's right, I did hear that.
And so if you bought, the Suicide Squad on 4K, digital on the PlayStation Store, you not only can't buy it anymore, you can't watch it or download it anymore, you just lost access to that. So whatever money you spent on that, you just don't get anymore.
And that's the like horror situation of DRM that like anti-DRM advocates have been so concerned about.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the most notable first times of them revoking licenses, and how the problem is when you buy these things, you're not buying a copy of the game, you're buying a license. And realistically, a lot of time it doesn't happen. Even if it's delisted, you still have access to it. But a lot of the times what happens is you just get the license, and there is the possibility for the publisher or the rights holder to revoke that license at any time.
Yep. I mean, that's what happened with PT, right? You can't, you had that on your console, but if you deleted it, you couldn't re-download it, and you certainly couldn't download it if you hadn't bought it. Or
and there were no discs of that.
No, it didn't cost anyone any money, but that is now just considered lost media, or at least rare media. I'm not sure.
Well, the only way to transfer it between to like purchase it is to buy a PlayStation 4, which is fucking ridiculous.
Or if you're Lance McDonald,
or you hack it.
Yeah.
It's probably there's probably a PT ROM somewhere.
Yeah.
But like we're so far away from PS4 emulation.
Yeah, we are.
We'll see that in 10 years, and we'll be like, oh, finally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, goodbye Stadia. I don't think we'll ever talk about Stadia again.
Yeah.
It is weird because it was on the box for a lot of games, right? It was part of the release date splash screen, all the platforms it's sitting on. Like I remember seeing it there, being like, that's weird.
Thing I remember Stadia the most for is in their announcement presentation, they announced Baldur's Gate 3.
What?
And that was the trailer of the person in the streets becoming, what are they called? A chrysalid? What do they call the
alien?
The Mind Flayer.
Yeah, Mind Flayer.
And you see you hear the bones shattering, and you see the silhouette of the person morphing as the octopus sprouts out of them. It was I remember watching it. I'm like, fuck, this is a gruesome trailer.
Yeah, right.
And then they went into it. It was like Baldur's Gate 3, Valerian, the people who defended the original sins, coming to early access. I'm like, oh, fascinating. I know that name, and I remember people went off on it. But every time I saw Baldur's Gate, literally every time until basically this year when it sort of redefined what it was as its own standalone thing, I thought, oh, that's that game that they announced on Stadia.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if that was... I want to say it was announced before that, though.
I sincerely disagree.
Right.
I really think it was revealed, like that was part of their coming out party was, hey, this is going to be on Stadia. What is it? You don't know. We're going to show you. Here it is. And then they had Larian being like, oh, it's so helpful because we can develop it like this and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right. The Stadia memory I have was Phil Harrison. Is that his name?
That exec.
Yeah. Because he used to run Microsoft and has run EA in the past, and he sort of has just done the rounds.
Phil Harrison.
Yeah. And I remember just looking at him going like, man, you're like old games exec. Like you're of a breed that basically doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like Don Matrick.
Yeah, him, Don Matrick, and the English guy that used to run EA and is now head of
He's got the Halo 2 tattoo.
Huh?
He's got the Halo 2 tattoo.
What? Did old mate get a Halo 2 tattoo?
The guy who announced it was like, here's the date, and he fucking showed off his bicep.
Oh my god,
Remember
that's so funny.
I'm pretty sure he went on to. I'm pretty sure that's the guy we're talking about.
The guy that went on to work for who used to run. He now runs Manchester United or something.
Yeah.
Right. That's funny.
Release date tattoo. Peter Moore.
Peter Moore. Yeah. Wow. Has he got a Halo 2 tattoo? Is that a real tattoo?
That was how they announced the release date of that game. He showed it on his arm as a tattoo.
Oh, I wonder if that's real.
It is.
I know, but I wonder if he still got it. Like, I wonder if he's got it removed. That's so funny. Yeah, like it's just Phil Harrison is of that breed. I remember looking at that going, like, he's like, there's some weight behind that guy, but it's also not weight that anybody is like really excited to see, because he's just he's not one of those execs that like left companies and everyone's like, oh, he was a legend at XYZ. He was just kind of he was a suit.
Yep.
He was a suit. Up next, Hi-Fi Rush was shadow dropped on January 25th, 2023.
So cool.
You wanna talk to Hi-Fi Rush? You like the game more than I, so you wanna talk to that?
Yeah. I mean, I only played it for 3 or 4 hours. I really like the concept. I'm not a huge fighting action game guy though, like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, like that's never been my style, and that's what this game is at heart, with a rhythm overlay. I love seeing such a beautiful meshing of rhythm gameplay though with another genre, the way they did, and I love the tone, I love the execution, even if I didn't vibe with it personally. And I love it. It feels just like an industry success story, you know, to come out of nowhere from a game that's known for making horror games for the last generation, and they come out with this little darling, cute, cartoony rhythm action game out of nowhere that like so many people enjoy. And it shadow dropped. We hadn't heard about it, and it was just out. That was so fun, and it was great to see it get recognition coming into the end of year this year, that people didn't forget about it by the time we came around to December, nearly a full 12 months later, 11 months almost. Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is great.
Yeah, and it had a positive splash at the time, which is good, and like it was, you know, colorful and vibrant, and
it was a win for Xbox.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, if for first in a hot minute.
You remember how dry the end of 2022 was for them?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. I've just looked it up. Peter Moore celebrated the 20th anniversary of his tattoo about a month ago.
Wow.
Saying it was 20 years ago this evening, the Halo ink was still damp and the arm was still sore, but we at Xbox changed Blockbuster Gaming marketing forever.
That's so funny.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if they'll do another Hi-Fi Rush. I think there's room for it.
Definitely room for it.
I think that we spoke about this, I think, at the time when it came out, but like it felt like a good Game Pass thing, right? It was like barrier to entry was just like, have the sub, you'll have a good time, probably at least for like a couple hours, and if you dig it, then you'll play through the whole thing. But it was engaging and enjoyable and pretty easy to pick up. And it wasn't
Hi-Fi
too
Rush
long.
was the game that made me realize that I was working with an audio delay on my computer, which as a video editor is very important to realize. So thank you, Hi-Fi Rush.
Its legacy lives on.
I could do Cloned Hero and whatever, and that it still didn't nail into my head that I was dealing with like a 200 millisecond lag on my audio.
I discovered that the other day when I played the Fortnite harmonics thing. And I was like, oh, I've got a delay on my AV receiver.
Yep.
2 days after Hi-Fi Rush, Dead Space remake came out. Now I didn't get a chance to really play this.
I didn't even bother to pretend to even try to get to it.
I really wanted to. I quite like Dead Space, and I think it's a really cool franchise. But I just didn't.
I might try and get into this when it's cheap, or is it on Game Pass yet? Maybe
it is on Game Pass.
I might duck into that one time, because I one time tried to get into Dead Space because they gave the trilogy away on Origin. I don't even know when, so long ago. But Dead Space 1 is up there with Dark Souls 1 for terrible PC ports.
Yeah,
just
right.
Really bad.
I wasn't aware of that.
It's also just old. It's old enough that that's why the PC port is so bad, because it was like 2007, back when they didn't know that, like, they started making more PC ports, but no one knew how to do it properly.
And it was still early into the 360 and PS3 era that they were probably still learning how to make PS3 games.
Exactly. Like, I think that game doesn't run at 1080p.
Right.
So it's like, boy, very unappealing.
Yeah. But like that remake looked great. Like visually, it looked really awesome.
I remember talking to Drew from House of Mario, House of Nintendo,
House of Mario.
House of Mario. I always mix that up. Sorry, Drew. But he was when we were talking at PAX, he was talking about how much that game scared the pants off of him. Even like he really wanted to play it, but he really struggled.
Yeah. And then only a week and a little bit later, the Metroid Prime Remastered released. And
Shadow Drop, another Shadow Drop.
Yeah, well, you can't. Yeah, Shadow dropped officially. Rumored for years, rumored for years and years.
Yeah,
apparently had been finished for well over a year.
Just sitting in the tank,
just sitting there, just ready, waiting for them to pull that trigger. It's a good remake. It's a good remake.
Jeremy, I think this game's going to be in my top 5 for the year.
Yeah, wow.
Which is weird. We need to point out that it's weird because actually it's just a game from 2002. Let's just say it because it is.
Yeah.
However, it's one of my most. It's one of the gaming experiences from this year that I remember the most. Right. That made them that left the strongest mark for me this year. Like I worked on that game. I 100% of that game twice in like a month.
Yeah.
And don't hate it.
Yeah, right.
That's a huge mark in its favor.
Yeah.
That game's got style and tone oozing out of every plant and space pirate and ancient facility and Metroid tentacle, or not tentacle. What are they called? Fangs.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what I was wowed by at the time and what I'm wowed by now, I think it's the best looking game on the Switch.
I think I disagree because at the very least of Mario Wonder.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I also think Mario Odyssey looks good mostly. It's maybe not as consistently good everywhere like Metroid. But
yeah, and to be fair to other games on the Switch, like Metroid Prime Remastered is a game that was working within the confines of Metroid Prime on GameCube.
Sure.
That's why it can run so well, because it's got so many loading zones, so that it can all fit onto one mini disc.
Yeah, it's a much simpler structure of a game.
Exactly. It's not like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or even Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, totally.
Those gigantic open world games.
Yeah. Or even like the Kirby games, right? Like which also look good, but like it's working.
They make the most of what they can.
It's working in a very efficient structure,
while also trying to make something modern.
Yeah. Like I like I remember like when we talk about playing this game, or rather when I streamed that final time I played that Metroid Prime Remastered, and I remember thinking like I think I do overall like that game. I think I've come further around on it now that I've had time away from it's
the lackluster final fifth of that game.
Yeah, like it's weak final act, I think. But like I'll play the second one and I'll give the third one a go, even though I'm not assuming to like that one as much. But it really made me go like this is the M-rated Alien game that I'm never gonna get. Which is cool, and I'm glad that
it's a Nintendo game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's got that Nintendo flair attached to it, and we still don't know where Metroid Prime 4 is.
No, we don't.
Dear.
Boy, I don't care whatever comes next. I'm excited for it.
It'll be
Prime series.
It'll be 2. Like they'll
I know
they'll do 2, 3, then 4, surely, right? Or not.
Maybe.
Or maybe they just won't do that, like how they never brought out fucking Super Mario Galaxy 2 on the Switch.
I mean, they never promised that.
No, I know, but like it was kind of expected.
I never expected it. I'm like, oh, you didn't bring it out now, and this is time sensitive release. I don't think we're ever getting Galaxy 2.
Oh, that's so fucking strange.
It's really weird.
At the end of February 22nd, the PlayStation VR 2 released. The only piece of hardware from the major parties this year.
Excuse me, you're clearly forgetting about the PlayStation 5 Slim and the PlayStation Portal.
Well, one of those
and the PlayStation earbuds, whatever they called those.
Okay, earbuds is not a major piece of hardware, and one of the other two that you mentioned is also not available here until next year.
Did the DualSense Edge come out? I think that was February this year, wasn't it? I think it was around my birthday.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was.
They released their biggest piece of hardware this year.
Yeah.
And
a platform.
Yeah. Well, a promise of a platform. It hasn't done very well.
No. And I am... I don't know. PSVR 2 is such a basket case, man.
Yeah. I'm saddened by it. It's because it's far too much fucking money. It's so expensive.
Yes.
It's so expensive because you need the PlayStation 5. Like, that's the thing. It's not like not like PC VR, because it's not like that. It's its own thing.
And that's the thing, right? Because they aim to do something different and better than their last generation, right? Their last generation was great because it was a great entry step into VR when it released.
Totally.
Most people at that point in time had a PS4.
Yep.
And so and PS4s launched at a cheaper price and had come down in price by then.
Yeah.
And then the headset itself launched at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Some people could have already had the accessories like the camera and the wands. So that brought the price down for some people. And then honestly, the wands and the camera, you could buy them later. Or if you wanted them at the time, not that much extra. It's still probably $600 total for the headset, wands, and camera at launch.
There was a little bit of not shrewd. What's the word when it's like there's a little bit of like a frugality to it that was kind of
thrifty.
It was a little bit appreciated because those old controllers from the PS3 worked. And, you know, I'm not saying that they should have done that again, but it helped. It really helped that there was already like an aftermarket for its mostly optional controllers.
Yeah, totally. This one comes out on a console that saw a price increase this year. It didn't come down in price. It went up in price.
Yes.
From an already increased COVID price.
Yeah.
And then it somehow cost even more.
Yes.
And you needed both of them. So in Australia, you have to put down more than $1,600 for this, which is a lot. However, it also looks like they're providing one of the best VR experiences that you can have for that kind of money.
Yeah.
So actually what they're offering isn't bad. However, it's so at odds with what they established with their first generation and what the console market is all about, with sort of accessibility, ease of use, easy to get into, like,
and
man.
And it's also like, you know, if you spend $1,600 on VR on the PC, you won't get that immediate same all-in-one experience. But what you will get is like the option to do, like, you know, play games on Steam and stuff. And so you get lower price point for the software. You get 10 years of backlog of VR games that have already been on there.
Mm-hmm. You get mod ability.
Yeah, you get a lot more freedom with your toy that you just can't get in a console experience.
That's the other thing we didn't mention either, is that this is PSVR 2. However, it is not at all backwards compatible with 1. And that's, again, because of how thrifty the first one was, and it was built on old hardware.
Yeah.
And to bring out a new generation, they did really need to move away from what their past was. But it means that everyone had to leave their software library behind. So even the diehards who bought in, they're left with a platform that had no games there was nothing to do on it.
Yeah, I remember one of the things that, like, when it came out, I remember thinking, because they launched it really close to their revamp of PlayStation Plus, and I remember thinking, I can't believe, or it was kind of close to that.
That was 8 to 10 months prior.
Was it like when it dropped or when it was announced?
Well, remember, we got it late compared to the rest of the world, and we got it halfway through last year.
Right. There was like, I remember thinking, why are there no PS Plus games on their now more expanded PlayStation? So why are there no PlayStation VR games on their now more expanded PlayStation Plus service?
Like for the very few that did go back for the development time to modernize, to like be like, hey, you bought this originally, we've ported it so that you can play it on your new system.
Yeah, or even like, hey, you bought our new system, like the top 5 most exciting PSVR games are available on even the most expensive of our PlayStation Plus offerings. They weren't.
Here's a free month.
They weren't even there.
No, they're too stingy for that.
It's like really cool hardware that's unfortunately locked behind a lot of confusing decisions.
Yeah. And is ultimately quite inaccessible.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier while we were setting up the show about Resident Evil 4, which we'll get to in a minute. It's literally the next thing. We could dovetail into it. But they just came out with their VR mode on PSVR 2. And people are saying it's one of the best VR experiences you can have, like from a fidelity sense, because you've got the resolution in the headset itself. You've got the haptics in the headset and the controller. You've got the eye tracking. It makes use of all of that. And the only thing that really holds it back is just that it's a mode on a game that wasn't really designed around VR. And even then, that's just like one mark deducted, like 1 point off, and the rest of it's amazing.
Yeah.
And looking at something like that makes me go, oh, maybe I literally had the thought of like, oh, maybe I should look into this. But it's taken all year for a mode of a remake of a game that came out nearly 20 years ago.
Kinda.
Kinda. What I mean is, like, Call of the Mountain wasn't it.
No, it was another shooting gallery. How exciting.
And a climbing game.
Yeah.
But the other one that I think really could have done good things for it was the new Firewall. What was it? Firewall Ultra.
Yeah.
And apparently that was really confusingly designed. It really did not bring forward the strengths of the original game, which people applauded. Like, people loved that first game on the first system. And I was really looking forward to, okay, maybe this is going to be one of the most definitive things you can get, like best experience, best hardware, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, nah.
Where's Astrobot? Like,
yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Even just port the old one.
Port the old one. Port the old one and the one that came with the original one.
Put a VR mode of Playroom in there.
Yeah. Allow me to just do the same speedrunning levels that I used to play, just in fucking VR. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It's baffling. And this stumble out the gates is going to be very, very hard to shake off, I think, because it's going to require a hell of a lot of investment for it to right itself. And I honestly don't see PlayStation doing it.
They would have
if they do, then great, but like
they'd have to cut the price dramatically. And this is even me, someone who bought into PSVR 1 on launch.
Yeah.
I have had a MetaQuest 1, which I then sold on to you, and I bought a MetaQuest 2.
It's right here.
Yeah, there it is. Like, I work at a VR company. I'm in VR every other day at my job. I'm in
VR right now. Yeah. We did a VR episode of the show.
We did an episode of the show where we were in VR for the entirety of it. Or half of it. Like, it's like I am primed to be here for. I was even excited for this.
Yep.
I just couldn't cop the price. It was just too much money.
Yep.
Such
for
a shame.
headset that you'll get some fun out of, and then we'll sit there.
Yeah.
I like this Quest that I've got. Your old Quest. I like that I've got it. I love the Beat Saber I've been able to play on it, but like, VR just ain't what I want to do with 100% of my time, or even half of my time, or even a quarter of my time.
Yeah.
It's too hot and heavy and needs charging, and there's too many cables and batteries. Like, it's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah, and like, it's never been easier. But it's not a flawless experience yet. The closest you can get to a flawless experience is getting the MetaQuest 3, which is really comfortable. But then replacing the strap on it, and opting for a battery pack as well.
And like at that point, we're like,
yeah, it does add up. Having tried all of that at once, it's a pretty beautiful way to do it. But it's like you got to have the time and money and desire to do that, which is like that's not a general audience kind of person. That's definitely well into the enthusiast realm.
Absolutely. And it's hard for VR to stay out of that realm.
Yeah.
I suppose. Quest and PSVR 1 were the ones that did, but yeah. And that's probably going to be our sort of VR wrap up, because this was the most interesting thing to happen in VR the whole year.
The MetaQuest 3 came out. Like, it's good. Like, I've tried it, but it's another MetaQuest.
Yeah.
A lot of the interesting stuff is not immediately relevant to like what we're doing, but more like
it's like the AR integration, right, is way better.
Yeah, they've got like full color pass through now, which is nuts and really exciting. And like I've done the like project a keyboard onto a table thing and then type, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, cool.
What I want to try, the only thing that I haven't tried in modern VR is getting lens replacements for the inside of the headsets. Because they're not that expensive, and it allows me to wear a VR helmet without putting on my glasses.
Oh my god, I need that, because of like I got new glasses maybe a year or two ago, and within like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, why are they scratched?
Yeah.
How did I scratch these? And then I put my headset on the next time. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. So modern
shit.
Modern VR headsets have a way to order like lenses for
like prescription lenses.
Yeah, for your eyes. And then they just unscrew and you just screw them in. It's incredible.
Yeah. Whatever head I don't think I'm getting another headset until I can do that. I'm like immediately scratching these very expensive things I use literally every second of every day was
the MetaQuest
big knock against it.
The MetaQuest 3 and the PSVR 2 I think have that option available to you.
To screw in things, attachments?
To purchase lenses to replace your glasses. I think that was one of the big things that they both did. I'll have to double check PSVR 2, but like the MetaQuest 3 does it.
That's exciting.
And some of the new Vives do as well.
Are they still making headsets, HTC?
Yeah. They've got the Vive Focus 3 is their flagship one, but they brought out a Vive Pro, I think, this year, and I tried it, and it was not very good. It was quite thin.
Why are they so hit and miss?
They're really uneven. They're a really uneven company when it comes to headsets. When they hit,
turns out they were a really uneven company when it came to phones before that too.
Yeah, right. But like when they hit, they're great. But when they don't, like you just wait.
What's this? Hang on, I'm on the website. Get power with the Save big on full body XR with the new Vive XR Elite plus Vive Ultimate Tracker Bundle.
Those are awesome. It's like
only $2,700.
Yeah, they're a lot of money. They're really good.
But these are fucking ankle and wrist trackers as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's full body tracking at that point.
Yeah, that's cool. Bloody hell.
Speaking of enthusiasts, I'm an enthusiast of our next game, Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Hell yeah. This game fucking rules.
I can't believe how good this game was.
I can't believe how good the remake is, you know, like Well, that's not fair, because looking back at Resident Evil's remakes the last generation, they've been really good.
Yeah, two and 4 especially are like tremendous. 1 is good and 3 is all right. They're on a winning streak. The Resident Evil franchise, realistically, it has been on a winning streak since 7. Honestly,
can't wait for them to do 5.
They're not going to do 5.
They spoke about it recently, I think.
Yeah, but I think whatever came out recently was that they're not planning on jumping immediately into 5. Right, which is good.
But I think they also specifically said they're not ruling it out either.
Yeah, they should.
Which I thought they would.
They should rule. That game's very bad.
Yes.
Very racist.
Resident Evil 4 is so fucking fun. I think we're probably going to end up talking about it more next week. But
I think we are.
surprisingly lengthy, but doesn't really overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Through all of that, it's campy. It's like doofy anime action at times, like lots of like, huh, and what the, and like action rolls and flicking of the hair and slow mo when someone swings past the camera. Like it's so over the top, and it works all the time,
and it knows how much fun it's having.
Yeah,
it is such a.
It knows how much fun you're having.
Yeah. And like the gunplay is really good. Like the exploration is really good. It's just a fucking banger.
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. I know people who played the original. Like there are some people who really loved it, but some people who really didn't. I didn't play the original, and I just love it anyway. So there.
We'll talk about that game more next week. After this, on March 27th, was the closure of the Nintendo eShop for the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS.
Where, but also like in like a, oh no, that's a shame, but also like, I mean, it's a whole preservation issue. Like
it is.
There's a practicality of like who is on here anymore kind of a feeling, but then there's the reality of, oh, this is going to make a lot of games much harder to get, and a lot of games that only ever released online are going to be gone for good in terms of official purchasing methods.
And for a studio that is notably anti-emulation, they're really hard on piracy. They are like extraordinarily harsh when it comes to like cease and desists.
Was it this year that they ruined
that guy's life?
That person's name who was Bowser something?
I don't remember if it was this year or if it was late last year.
It was April. Hacker Gary Bowser is in debt to Nintendo for the rest of his life. Yeah. Nintendo will take 25% to 30% of his income for the remainder of his days. That's a headline from Kirk McKeon from videogames.si.com. Whatever the hell that is.
They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
That's criminal, except it was actually done through the legal system.
Yeah, that feels so awful. Like it's like an
objectively wrong thing to do, like a morally horrendous thing to do.
It's like indentured servitude. Like it's like suddenly like this person owes like 1/4 of this person's earnings, so the rest of their life will be paid to Nintendo. That has got a weird like slavery-esque feeling to it of like whatever you make we will take kind of. It is gross as fuck. It's really gross. So yeah, this and the shop closing down, like the shop, like, and I understand I also do understand the argument of like, you know, they can't support everything forever. I get that, but this wasn't like, oh, we just don't want to support it anymore. Like, no, this was like, this is entirely financial, no matter who cares. And they will still bring out patches on their old hardware at times to circumvent piracy. Like, they will still do that because they care about punishment more than they care about actually like supporting their product. Mm-hmm. So that was when that happened. And then a couple of days later, E3 2023 was cancelled.
2 months before the event.
2 months before the event. And this was, there was a weird thing happening in the E3s prior, which also didn't happen because there was E3 online, but then there was the one after that, something like one of them happened, one of them didn't. And the last one that was meant to happen, I think in 2020, just before then, like the company that was like in charge of all of their booths, like they had some falling out with the ESA, and that was when Keeley span off and did his own thing.
That was 2019. Because 2020 was COVID, remember? It just wasn't happening.
No, there was in between COVID cancelling it and the previous E3, some stuff was coming out that made the cancellation of the E3 2020 almost feel like a godsend to the ESA.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Yeah, and then they brought in Reed Pop, and then I don't know if they did a proper event with Reed Pop.
No,
and
I think
they
they
let
couldn't
Reed
swing
Pop
it.
go before canceling. Or maybe this was when they canceled this year's E3. They were like, we're not working with Reed Pop, so we can't run this year. I'm trying to remember, but
yeah, it was a weird. There was a lot going on, and it was clearly not coming together, and it hadn't been coming together for a long time.
This was the, I want to say, 6th time we saw E3 is dead over the last 5 years.
And this was the time they countered it without saying that they were going to come back next year. This was because every other time they had said we'll be back next year, but like we're canceling this one, we'll bring it back next year. This was the only time they didn't do that. And then
they said something like we look forward to talking with our customers,
or like returning to the LA Convention Center, like in June of next year. But this time they didn't do that, and then earlier this week they have indeed announced that E3 will not be returning. It is now officially dead,
like literally dead. Like now is actually when it's dead. Now you can get the gravestone photos out.
Yeah,
it is dead as a doornail. It is over.
Yeah, I'm a bit,
which is wild.
It is wild, and I think it's sad. Only because I never got to go, and you know, for everybody in games media has got that one. Like they would love to go once.
Absolutely.
Andy McNamara, who works at EA now, I think, but he used to be the EIC for Game Informer. He tweeted the other day that like I can now change my resume to went to every single E3 as opposed to went to every E3 so far.
Wow.
Yeah, I think like a handful of like Jeff Gertzman was the same, and I think Patrick Klepek was the same as well, which is bonkers. Because he was
what a weird guy.
Because he was a kid when he went.
He was a child.
Because he used to work at
when he started working the show floor.
No, before that, because he worked at GameStop, and you could get in with a GameStop like employee thing. Yeah, right. Because that was when it was a trade show, and so
if we were coming up in the 90s and we could just like bug people who we met at a convention. Well, we would be coming up in Australia, but even then there was an industry here at that point.
I know. Anyway,
AAA industry.
E3 is dead. It's sad, and I think we'll have more to say about this at some point in the future. But I think the replacement that we have with the Keighley shows, I think, is a worse future than even. I think the worst of E3, I think, is not worse than what we have now in a weird roundabout way.
Well, the thing is, there's no incentive to run it like it used to be run.
No, none.
And not even for Summer Game Fest.
In fact, there's incentive to explicitly not run it like how it used to be run.
Exactly. Like the thing of bringing everyone all together, because this is when all the execs are in the right place. So this is when they could all be in the meeting. So this is when we all have to have our press conferences, and they can't overlap. So they've all got to be scheduled. We all got to like sync it up. And it meant we had 3 days of back-to-back-to-back conferences from Ubisoft and EA and Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony in person. Miyamoto's there. Like, we see Uncharted 2 for the first time. Ridge Racer. Like, that slew of conference followed by the show floor immediately in the preceding days. That is E3. We haven't had that in years. And the shambling corpse of what has been trying to carry on since then has been quite disappointing in the meantime. And like everyone's sort of having some conference in that time is cool. Yeah. Like we get but now it's like a 2-month thing. It happens across like half of May into half of July. And it's just,
and even then you'll miss some.
Yeah. And also everyone else jumps on the bandwagon who's trying to get in because the barrier to entry is so low. So you've got like Wholesome Games Direct now. Not to say they're bad, but like there is now even more noise.
Yeah. Like PC Gaming Show is always hanging around, and like there's, Day of the Devs, and like there's other like the smaller satellite ones that happen nearby. EA Play would usually just have like some in-person event even without a show.
They didn't even do a show this year.
No, they didn't have anything to fucking show.
No. So like it's really, E3 is just never going to be what we have. I'm glad there's something in June. But it's the same problem of the Game Awards, right? Where it's independently run. So it needs to be something where like Sony probably doesn't want to support the Summer Game Fest or whatever they call Judges Week these days, Play Days. I think like they're not going to want to support it in case Xbox gets in there and wants to show off their new Halo game, and it's like the place to play it. Sony doesn't want to encourage that or give a platform to that or fund that.
Yeah.
So they're probably just not going to play ball with Summer Game Fest ever.
Oh, like they're not. They showed The Last of Us Part 1 there. They show stuff. They show the Spider-Man release date.
It's not the same as it being shown and then it being playable.
No. And like I think part of it is also because like the timings just didn't work out. But like it's also not nearly as physical as it used to be. Which is a big difference. But like it also doesn't feel because it's like there's no such thing as the spirit of it, but like it doesn't feel like it has the same goals anymore. It is not just about getting the game in front of people to do coverage. It is about selling pre-orders and getting you to order lunch with DoorDash is what it feels like the point of it now.
Mm-hmm.
And getting The Rock to tell you about the hierarchy in the DC universe is about to change.
Yeah. Just wait till you hear about James Gunn.
So yeah, it's definitely got different priorities. But like again, like yeah, same with the Game Awards. I think that the priorities of the Keeleys are noticeably worse.
Yeah.
And self-serving. So I will miss E3. We should do we haven't done an E3 remember E3 in a while. We should do one of those soon.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
Before we jump into our next thing, Jeremy, I reckon we should throw it to a break.
All right.
We're lingering on these, so I reckon we'll jump back to something a bit more quick fire, but we'll hit the heavy topics. So stick around, everyone. We'll be right back. I thought I heard the music, but I didn't yet. Here it comes. Woo! Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. Do you say lasso or lasso?
I've been saying it wrong. is what I've been saying.
I knew the right way to say it, but I forgot in the past. And we're pretty sure it's almost entirely because of Ted Lasso.
Yes, yeah. We think that show has overwritten the word lasso.
Yeah.
And
honestly, I'm not mad about it. If it's meant to be said lasso and there's only one O, you can get the hell out of here with that shit. That's nonsense. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's definitely confusing. I think it's better than lasso, but I think that's only because like lasso feels silly.
Yeah, it feels a little like trying hard.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy. Let's pick up the pace a little bit here.
Yeah.
But what's next on our list?
So next up was Dredge. That was March 30th of this year, 2023. Mm-hmm. That's a really cool game. Dredge is a really cool game. There's DLC that came out later this year, which they
also came out with a Dave the Diver crossover, which is cool.
Yeah, they've done a couple of post-release little additional things here and there, but they haven't like the Pale something. I don't remember the name of the DLC they just put out, but Pale Reach.
Oh,
Fish. It looks cool. I would like to have a go at that at some point soon. But if you want to know more about my thoughts on Dredge, you can just read my review on the website.
What you gave it a 9, I think?
I did give it a 9.
Nice.
Yeah. 9 is good. I'm happy with 9.
Yeah, 9's really good.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a game we were going to do a Game Club podcast episode for, which fell through the cracks. But it's a game that you and I both enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
Despite its flaws. I think everyone enjoyed it despite its flaws. Its flaws were quite glaring.
Yeah, there were some serious flaws in that game.
I actually jumped into it this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
And it's still got random, like, you spin the camera too fast and the textures aren't loading in the view frustum fast enough.
Yeah. is the Ogdo Bogdo ×2 fight actually work yet, or is it still fucking busted?
I don't know. I beat it originally. I think I beat that.
The one where there's two of them at once,
or at launch. It was
the one where
the two in the like meditation room. Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, I didn't do the 2 Rancor fight. I
oh, sorry. No, that's what I was talking about. That fight just.
Yeah, I've heard it's silly.
Real, yeah, like useless.
Yeah. But man, the rest of that game, real good.
Yeah, really good.
They tell a really interesting story with that game. In like it's far less about the plot, and it's more about the characters and what they all mean to each other, and it's got a really great revelation in the middle of it, and such an interesting like conclusion to that game. Like because it's all about the characters, it's so much. I really appreciated that there's like the world-ending stakes, right? You know, we have to get to this place for the resistance or whatever. But I appreciated it's not actually what the ending was about. It became much more personal.
Yeah,
and not it wasn't overly sincere. It wasn't trite. It was really effective and fascinating. I don't know of a story that was told in a way like this one was.
It was funny how it had two distinct like story threads. Because there's the Old Republic stuff, and then there's stuff that's happening right then and there with Cal and his crew.
And sort of unearthing the Old Republic stuff for them to meet their own goals in the present day.
So sorry, High Republic stuff. This was good. The High Republic. Yeah, and
not the MMO.
Yeah, no, and they weave those through together quite well. And also like the gameplay changes I think were for the better. All the different stances were really fun. The map design was definitely better. But like the gating of like the Metroidvania progress gating was quite good.
Yep. They had fun abilities, a lot of really great enemies, like getting to take on droids and droidicars, and getting to infiltrate through one of the old separatist sphere ships derelict on the planet. That was such a cool setting.
Yeah, really cool.
Old Clone Wars battle droids, like the really niche ones that I never saw in the movies. Like, there's a lot.
They put good work into not making it just another one of the first ones. And like I didn't like the first one, like basically almost at all. And I really like this. So that's like you did it. Nice job.
Yep.
Good on you, Respawn.
Yep. Hopefully EA or you yourselves give yourself enough, or Disney gives you enough runtime to polish the game as much as it needs to be for release for the next one, please.
Yes.
Because 2 out of 2 is not great in terms of really, 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 really bad launches.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's this next one about, Jeremy?
This next one is just Atari acquired Night Drive. Yeah, so this was interesting. The reason I bring this up is because, one, it was an acquisition, but 2, it was an interesting studio to pick up.
So who was Night Dive Studio?
So Night Dive has been the ones that's been remaking stuff like System Shock. They're working on a couple of other like big, high-profile remakes of games that we haven't seen for a very long time.
Like classic PC titles?
Yeah. They're honestly the studio that I hope eventually picks up KOTOR. I don't have any reason to think that they will do that, aside from that they're working on the Dark Forces remaster.
Okay, that's not nothing.
Yeah, it's not nothing. But like, they did the remake of Quake 2 this year. They did the remake of Rise of the Triad this year. Turok 3, I think, has just come out.
Recently, yeah.
System Shock was last year, I think, but System Shock 2 is next year, or maybe next year. And they did the Blade Runner remake as well last year. They're an exciting studio, I think, because they're doing really faithful remakes of games that seemingly everybody's very happy with. So it's been good to see a studio like that get a bit more attention, and hopefully Atari, and like who knows with Atari now.
Yeah, that's the biggest question mark for me in that arena is honestly, what the hell are they doing acquiring a studio right now?
It's really strange.
I guess they just live in the retro space.
They kind of do. And like it kind of works in my mind as that thing where it's like old studio picking up old old publisher picking up old studio to make old games. But like I also know Atari has mostly been focused on like their classic console remakes and also just like blockchain shit. So like it's kind of I don't know, it's weird.
That's a grab bag is what that is.
It sure is. But yeah, like I think Night Dive are a really cool studio. So I'm glad that they are not just chugging along on their own and they hopefully have another thing to fall back on.
And hopefully it's not the flip side of an acquisition tale where they get acquired and then studio culture changes and it's a shadow of its former self, or they just get shuttered and closed.
Exactly. So who knows? But I thought that was notable enough just because they are a studio that is getting more and more in the mainstream in terms of they're getting bigger and bigger remasters and remakes. Kind of like Blue Point in that regard, where like they're building up a really strong portfolio of good games. Yep,
that's pretty cool.
After that,
this next one's pretty small.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard about it. They made a sequel to the Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild.
Can you fucking believe they did that?
Yeah,
I've said that multiple times on this show and outside of this show this year, and I'm gonna say it next week too. But can you fucking believe that they made a sequel to Breath of the Wild?
It's pretty bonkers. It's
great. It's not a waste of time in the slightest.
Yeah, super like it's not just like an easy. There was a way they could have done the easy route.
Yeah.
This is not what they did. They rebuilt all of their systems up again. Like they kept the foundations, but they changed everything.
They did. The thing that gets me is Breath of the Wild was a type of game that for myself definitely, and for I think millions of people by its reception, that did many things that people didn't know that they wanted or needed in the open world genre, in the Zelda franchise, and it redefined the industry, or at least parts of the genre.
Yeah.
And then they did it again, providing so many solutions to problems I didn't even know needed solving.
Yeah.
You know, like redefining everything again to a lesser extent. You know, in some ways, you know, like, Ultra Hand is sort of the extended reach of Magnesis, but you can use it on everything and also glue things together.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And to make Breath of the Wild seem like a prototype so handily, so expertly, so like definitively, it's very impressive.
It is really impressive. And them changing the world, also very impressive, still impressive. They've done a really good job.
Yeah.
They have made some of the same mistakes again in a lot of ways, I found. But overall, what a feat. What a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Nintendo did a wrapped thing like Spotify.
Yeah.
And Ollie and I were going over ours at the same time, and he's played a lot more Zelda than I have, but I'm over 100 hours now, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, wow, that's a lot of time. And also like, yeah, I've covered a lot of the map, but I still have towers to uncover. Like there are areas of the game I haven't been to yet. A lot of the depths I haven't been to yet. And I'm just so happy trucking along. Like it's just so nice and fun and great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did most of the Gerudo Temple last night, Jeremy. In fact, I did almost all of it. I got to like unlocking the boss, and then I was like, it's late.
Yeah, right.
I think that's my favorite dungeon.
Yeah, right.
And I think because it has a little opening linear section at the start where you like go under the temple to start with, and it's like corridors and traps and switches and levers and puzzles. And I'm like, Oh yeah, okay, Zelda. I could have some of this. And then you get to the center chamber, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this is a Tears of the Kingdom dungeon. But
I did. So I just looked at my Wrapped for Nintendo. So my start and finish of Breath of the Wild took 62 hours.
Wow.
My start and finish of Tears of the Kingdom was 92.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of both of those games this year.
Yes. Third was Bilkin's Folly because I had to play the game twice.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking how like, oh, I'm X amount of the way through the game, but then I was thinking about the number of hearts I have and the amount of stamina wheels I have, and I realized I'm just barely past halfway.
Yeah, right.
In terms of shrines, and I don't want 100% complete everything. Like if I want to keep going, I'll do the quests afterwards. And I want to finish the game before doing all this. It's worth saying, but like I want to do all the shrines. That's what I really like doing in this game to have it all done, is all the shrines and a lot of the big quests. And I'm just past halfway on the shrines. Like I was looking at my map, I'm like, this map's getting kind of full. Where are the other half of these shrines? I don't know, and I'm a bit daunted by it, honestly.
I mean, don't forget, there's a bunch of shrines in the sky.
Yes, that is true. I feel there are less and less sky islands when I look up, though. Like, there's hardly any above Gerudo, like the desert. There's not much over towards Eventide Island. Like,
yeah, the thing is like they stack on top of each other sometimes. So there's like a really strong structure, but then when you look at it from the map, it just looks like a tiny little disc.
Yeah, it's dense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that game.
Yeah. After that, Street Fighter 6 came out. Neither of us played it, but we just wanted to bring it up.
Maybe one of the best fighting games ever, apparently.
Yeah, right. I've thought about picking it up. I was close to picking it up, I remember, on launch, but I just didn't end up doing it because I was too busy playing Zelda. June 5th, Apple finally announced their Vision Pro virtual reality headset.
And everyone remembers when there was that footage of them announcing the price to a room of people, and they showed the price tag, and the whole crowd went, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Very, very expensive.
It was groans, simultaneous groans.
Very expensive headset. I will say, based on the conversations with the hardware people that I've had at work in a VR company, and none of them are Apple people, what they said based on the price was like, yeah, that's about right for the tech that's in it. Yeah. Because it's probably one of, if not the most powerful headset, singular.
Yeah.
That has been made. And we also know just how good Apple's displays are. So it's going to look really good. And it's also going to be probably quite comfortable just based off, like, this was, like, they were speaking about this in 2015. They've been working on this for fucking ever.
Yeah, I've been hearing rumblings about this long before it was announced. Of like, they're working on something.
Yeah.
They're doing something, guys.
Like, they're quite good at taking their time. They did the same thing with like Apple CarPlay, where like that was in development in like 2010 or something.
Yeah, wow.
And then it didn't come out until like 2016 or 17. I'm looking forward to giving this a go one day. I don't know when that will be. Like, I'll probably just have to book a time at an Apple store is probably what's going to have to happen.
Totally, yeah, that's probably it.
But I would
even have an entry cost.
Maybe. I would love to know
$20.
just what it's like. Just because I'm just so deeply fascinated by their tech.
The thing I find most exciting about it is and this doesn't work for me because I don't have nearly any Apple products these days, but it does seem to be very integrated with their Apple product. So if you've got your laptop, you can then, cast basically the screen of your laptop then into the XR image, or AR image. What are they calling it?
What, the combination?
They're not calling it AR. Are they calling it XR?
Yeah.
Okay. But then also, like, having phone integration as well, so you get text and you can see that, you have keyboard stuff and all the gesture, the whole AR thing of being Iron Man in all those things where he throws holograms around the room. Like, that is really cool. It is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Like XR is funny because it's not nearly as exciting as VR. except for the fact that it will definitely overtake VR.
Yeah, exactly, because it's going to have way more practical applications as technology.
Yeah.
When is this thing coming out?
I don't know.
Introducing.
Apple Vision release date is.
It says notify me.
Late 2024.
Late. Wow, they were real early on this one, like 2 years ahead of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It's got the screen on the front.
Yeah.
I forgot that. So you could do a call, and then it puts your eyes on the front of the device.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Anyway, it's also funny seeing Apple back in that gaming space, because they've got their own little gaming space with like Apple Arcade, and also like working with Metal and stuff. And now that they've put the fucking Resident Evil on the iPhone, I think that just got delayed, but like that's still coming. Like they've got their own weird like little gaming space that they like to live in, which is different to everything else. You know, Fortnite was debuted at WD, like at the Worldwide Developer Conference yonks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time anyone saw it, was at fucking Apple's conference. Just like Fortnite originally was shown off at an Apple conference. That was the first time it was shown.
What, in like 2013?
Yep.
What?
Yep. I remember watching it.
Wow.
Yeah, because this is before.
This is like me talking about Baldur's Gate before.
Yeah. Because I remember looking at it going like, that looks really cool. Like the folks that made like Unreal Tournament, like, okay, because that was what anybody thought of them at that point.
Well, no, they started making Fortnite when they came off Gears of War. Yeah,
I suppose it was like the Gears of War people are now working with Apple to bring a tower defense horde mode kind of game.
Yeah, and this was in the middle of Minecraft's explosion, and they were talking about crafting and yeah.
Moving on, Diablo 4 came out June 6th. Kara, you've played it. I haven't. You want to talk about Diablo 4?
I've played stupid amounts of hours of this game, and it's nowhere near as close to the hardcore amount of hours that people put into this game. What a weird release this year, because it was actually quite well received for the people who played it for the campaign, and then like a month in, the people who like wanted to grind it and get like all classes level 100 started really rubbing up against the edges, and then they're like, why don't we have search in the item stash? Why is our item stash so small? Why do gems take up so much of my inventory? Why do this and why do that? Like all these finicky things that you don't care about if you spend less than 100 hours in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seemed from the outside, and just from talking to people who are really into it, it has seemed not quite it, Chief.
That's the thing. Like it was enough to satisfy the millions of people who got in on the ground floor and didn't put in 8 billion hours into it. But the thing is, Diablo was a live service game before live service even was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, like with updates and with enough recycled or with enough randomization and an engaging loop that people played Diablo 2 for years straight because they loved it so much and because it had that loop. And it was far less sophisticated in terms of the number of enemies and animations and character types compared to Diablo 4. And yet, Diablo 4 wasn't quite it. They've made a lot of adjustments in like season 2 and 3's coming up in January. I'm excited to see where it is in like a year. But yeah, this game's weird. It's exceptionally gory at times, and there's no humor or like fun to be had in the story, like ever, which is like hard to sign up for.
That's kind of Diablo though. 3 was funny, but like 3 was funny in a way that was, I think, a little bit out of character in some moments.
People didn't love that is the thing.
Yeah.
But
like,
the thing is, I feel like this one's trying to make me depressed all the time. Like I feel like they're not necessarily telling an interesting story; they're telling a sad story.
Right.
Like the primary purpose was for it to feel heavy and not be good.
Yeah, right.
It's a little scathing, but like it was fine, and Ralph Ineson's in it, which is fantastic. The gameplay loop's honestly good. Like the graphics and the effects and the different, like I love playing a sorcerer with lightning damage and watching all the effects go. And like when you start clearing rooms really, really quickly of a lot of enemies, it's great. But Yeah, they didn't have enough of that.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's a weird game. It's also my first Diablo, so interesting. It came out. Funny how it landed. We'll see how it goes.
Have you thought about playing 3 like on the Switch? 3's good on the Switch.
I honestly haven't. Like I've kind of had my fill.
That's
like
fair.
it's not my bag really, which is kind of why I stayed away from it. Maybe I should try one of the better ones, but I don't know.
They remade 2 on the Switch for quite cheap as well.
For everything, right?
Hey,
I wasn't just on Switch.
yeah, totally. But playing those games on the Switch is really fun. They work really well in that control scheme, and that portability is nice.
I just don't gravitate towards portability. It's just not my bag.
I don't understand you. Summer Game Fest happened a couple of days later.
Yeah,
June 8th to like 12th or something. Like kind of, yeah.
The dates are all weird.
The death of E3 has heralded the beginning of the Keeleys. Keel 3. Key 3.
I prefer Key 3.
Key 3. Key 3.
Keel 3.
Keel 3. Like a boat. Yeah, it's like we've sort of spoken about this a fair bit recently, but like it's funny. I remember saying at the time that the show like hasn't earned its existence yet, and I remember like using an example at the time, which was that Alan Wake 2 is not a game big enough to be the biggest game at a showcase like this.
Yeah.
And then Alan Wake 2 became one of the greatest games this year.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking about that and thinking about how I felt about it at the time. And I think both are true still in my head. That Alan Wake 2 might still be, for me, the best game that came out this year. And I still don't actually think that can be the thing that defines a showcase. Like
as in it's not big enough?
It's not big enough to be the tentpole game. It wasn't back then. It can just be now only because of the success it's had at the Game Awards, and perhaps some of its in real life elements have also helped that. And I totally love the success that it's had. I think I'm so happy. But what can you remember from this showcase?
The only thing I can really remember is the thing we were looking up and reminding ourselves of last week, which was the different Final Fantasy announcements, which was like, win a Final Fantasy 16 Collector's Edition with DoorDash, which everyone thought they were announcing something else. And Jeff was like, no.
Yeah.
And then kind of laughed along with everyone else when he just started talking about an ad.
Laughed.
And then we ended with a Final Fantasy Rebirth trailer, which made me very happy.
Yeah. And I think that like they haven't it doesn't work yet. This isn't a showcase yet. This is an excuse to have brands show up. And it just doesn't sit. It just doesn't vibe. And it's a shame that this is what we've got left, I think.
I'm glad we've got something, but yeah.
So like I'd still rather everybody just have their own showcase at this point in that little area.
That is basically what happens, and then there's this one in the middle.
Yeah, but now they don't need to do the ones on the fringes. They can kind of just sprinkle some of their announcements in it, and everybody's watching. I
personally don't mind that. I never really valued the Ubisoft Connects and the Square Enix presentations and the Konami presentations. Like, I don't mind the smaller people all getting together.
Yeah, but it's not about the smaller people going together. It's just whatever they can get is the thing that they will. Yes. They will take like whatever you've got, and so that there's no direction or cohesiveness between anything. When we think of the greatest E3 presentations, you know, like some of the great Nintendo ones, or you know the PlayStation ones, Bethesda World even, or like Aisha Tyler doing her Ubisoft thing, right? Like there was at least sort of like an idea behind it of like, this is what like this company is offering. This is the platter of games that are going to be coming out in the next like 6 to 18 months. you're going to be feeling like this company is looking at like these areas, and then you can sort of have these like funny kind of comparisons between them and be like, well, it's funny that, like there's always the interesting politics of like who's got the Battlefield marketing and who's got the Call of Duty marketing, right, between PlayStation and Xbox. But you can then do direct comparisons between like, oh, like PlayStation are putting out 7 intensely cinematic games.
Yeah.
And Xbox are putting out like 5 shooters or whatever. And then you look at like, oh, like they're putting out 5 shooters that are not family friendly, and PlayStation have at least got Spider-Man that is family friendly. And so there's like this thing, but you don't get that with the Summer Game Fest. You just get like a grab bag full of whatever trailers you've got.
Yeah.
And we're just going to throw some products in between as well.
I don't think that's inherently bad, personally. I do think there are problems and mindset issues that were laid bare for us quite clearly during last week's showing of the Game Awards. And not only are we going to speak about it slightly more towards the end of this year in games rundown, but also we had an entire show.
Yeah.
Well, entire half of the show, very long half of a long show last week dedicated to our thoughts on that.
A show's worth.
Yeah, exactly. And I do recommend you go watch that if you're interested in our thoughts there. But yeah, we definitely think that there's a lack of
respect for people's time.
No, because Jeff is at the behest of everyone. He's beholden to everyone to provide him with something in order for him to provide us with something.
Because
he can't piss anyone off.
Because he's put himself in the center of it.
Well, there's that. I don't even think that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that he has to please everyone, which means that the show can't stand for anything. It can't be anything other than advertiser friendly and platform friendly to as many people, as many of the biggest people as possible at once, at all times.
That's
and
really
that
bad.
Immediately takes the teeth out of, well, they don't want anyone up there for longer than they could possibly be if they're accepting awards, because maybe they'll say something that the advertisers don't like, or maybe the parent or the sponsor companies of the show don't like, for example. Like, there's a lot of problems with how this is run and why it's run, which lends itself a toothlessness and a superficiality that is a problem. And for it to be one of the biggest things in the industry and to be so superficial and to be so profits driven, I think is not positive. However, I don't think that makes the showcases in and of themselves invalid.
I think that it does.
I know you do.
But I also think that because like beyond all of that, like the actual quality of the showcases, I think is really poor, and it's so long, and there's so much shit in it, and there are so many commercials in it, and it's like done like it's like a sporting event in a weird way, where they'll cut to commercials in between plays, and then you bring it back, and it's about it's
like a broadcast.
Yeah, and like we're so far beyond that, and he's almost looked at the Spike TV shit that he used to like help host, and he's stuck in this rut of this is how I know how to do it.
Well, and remember, the Game Awards was a direct response to what he couldn't do on Spike TV. You know, it was to, when it was coming around the first times, it was to do it right in the way that he wasn't able to. And it's become popular enough that it's almost becoming a hilarious twisted joke of itself, where it is becoming as bad as those used to be in other ways.
I don't know what he's trying to do that he couldn't do there, because all he seems to be doing now is commercializing every single minute directly into the audience's brain. And
well, I wouldn't say that's true, but that's because we 10 years ago, when the last Spike TV Awards happened, we wouldn't have considered game announcements during the show to be ads. you and I, we would have been like, oh, new game announcement. What is it? Of course it's an ad. It's all marketing.
Yeah.
But Jeff's not, he's not trying to get all the announcements there because he wants to run the most advertiser-friendly thing possible. That's not why he wants the announcements there. He wants the announcements there because it gets a lot of buzz in the same way that an E3 conference would.
Well, but like what I'm saying is
the reason that audiences were attracted to that is not because, oh boy, I can't wait to be marketed to. They were attracted to that because it's exciting. It's inherently fun to look forward to things from studios making things that you will probably like. Like there is an excitement there outside of the marketing prospect. There is something there to be excited about in a non-cynical way, genuinely. And that's what the focus was.
But his version of these shows, both the Game Awards and Summer Game Fest, have dulled the excitement of all of these announcements because of the format of the show, because of the caliber of the announcements, because of the repeated bombardment of advertisements, to the point that he's like, I'm not saying he's going to kill his own show because it's still doing a tremendous amount of numbers, but he's going to kill and this is, again, like a thing that I feel weird about, like caring about, but he's going to kill the excitement of game announcements because of how intensely, horribly commercialized it's become. That like when you show off, like E3 has always been about, like, you know, commercials for games and stuff, and we've said this for a long time, but when you've got let's say 12-minute preview for God of War 2018 that gets shown up there, and you've got this long introduction, then Kratos has his reveal, and you know they've got the orchestra or whatever, then you go into this long gameplay section, and then you might bring out someone like Cory Barlog, and he'll sort of talk to it a little bit and talk about what they're doing, and then you'll move on. You don't get that in the Game Awards. You get that you don't get that in Summer Game Fest. You'll get that a little bit sparingly here and there, but for the most part, it's like, we're pressing play on a video. We're just pressing play on another video.
I disagree with that. There were now that he's come back to live shows, it's more like that. But there were plenty of times prior, like when they revealed The Last of Us Part 1, for example, and they had Ashley and Troy and Neil on stage, and they spoke about it, and they spoke about factions, and they gave a sort of candid update on what the state of The Last of Us is in the house of Naughty Dog right now. And they did that for Call of Duty, and they did that for Marvel Snap. Like they would bring people on and talk about it.
And yet,
it hasn't been that this year.
It hasn't been that this year, and those three things were some of the bigger standouts, and that's because for every one of those, there was 15 games that didn't get to do that. And I'm not saying that every game needs to do that, but I don't remember almost any announcement that didn't have that moment. And he's moving away from doing that as much as he can. And even though what I'm describing is like a Nintendo Direct, right? Where it's like, we're just going to get through trailers. That's all a Nintendo Direct is. There's something about a Nintendo Direct that feels even more genuine than what Keighley's doing, even though Keighley would love to get to the Nintendo Direct format, where it's like, I can just show trailers.
Well, the thing with that is, no one's going to market a game better than yourself, right? Because when you're making something, you believe in it the most, and also you want the most people to see it because you think it has worth.
Yeah.
That is why those projects were greenlit. That is why they had X amount of marketing budget approved. That's why they were approved for the Direct, because they think it's going to do something for the people that see it, and it's going to do something in turn for their company, for the studio, for that product. Like, it's mixed in with capitalism, but also art in terms of, like, you know, like if you're doing a show for an art piece that you're in a group showing, it's like, I want people to come because I put all this work into it. It's a big moment for me.
Yeah, Nomura introducing Kingdom Hearts 3 is a good moment, right? Like it's the man introducing the thing that he's been working on. That's nice.
Yeah. And it's operating at this level of like multi-billion-dollar companies, right? So it's all weird. It's all different.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can believe that they have faith in something because it's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make something that you're going to like. They're trying to make something that's high quality that will move units not just because it's profitable, but because it does well for their image, and it creates new IP. And then the developers who put their heart and soul into it get that return of investment in their soul and their emotions and their hard work paying off. Like you're right. There is an honesty in that presentation from someone in that situation, much more than there is for someone in Jeff's, who is third party and is just relying on whatever he can get from whoever's willing to let him present it.
But when it's surrounded by commercials for Tiny Tina's Wonderland over and over again, and the Rock commercial,
or Fortnite over and
over again, all it does is make everything else in that block feel cheaper, right? One of the reasons I think
you're right.
Like, one of the reasons that we are still excited about Nintendo Directs is that because everything in there is surrounded by, exciting games, right? The new Zelda, a new Mario, a new Peach, Mario RPG, blah, 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 blah. These are really exciting games, and having some of the smaller games, some of the smaller independent games that are releasing their games on Nintendo as a part of the Nintendo Directs lifts everything up, because it's like we've got this feeling that like shoulder to shoulder with the giants, right? It works the opposite way as well. And that's all Keighley's shows are, is that like, hey, the only way you can get on a stage to show off your game is if you're willing to follow The Rock talking about his energy drink.
Yeah. And that leads to things like Stormgate being shown twice at subsequent Game Awards. Can you tell me anything about Stormgate, Jeremy?
Is that an app where fascists can get together?
No.
There's some alt-right app that sounds similar to that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Stormgate is.
Thank you for the context. I needed that.
I don't know what Stormgate is.
It's a show that was revealed. It's a game that was revealed at 2022 Game Awards.
Uh-huh.
And they showed it off again this year. This is the one that Simu introduced because he's in it, apparently. This is the one he was talking about StarCraft because it's an RTS.
Yeah, right.
Now, this game is RTS is back. But, like, who is this game? What is this game? Why is this the one that's being shown? Frost Giant Studios. Who are you from?
Oh, I played this game.
What? When? South by Southwest?
No, Summer Game Fest. Sorry, Steam Next Fest. Steam Next Fest.
Right.
Yeah, I played this game. It's good.
New RTS from old developers. Yeah, like cool. But like,
yeah, and this is what I mean.
There are so many games like this, where like AAA developers splitting off to do something that they used to do, or indie studios that have made it big and are trying to get a bit more, or some studio that's got funding from fucking Tencent or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of these AA games that are kind of big but not small, but not big, but kind of big, are all in there. And
yeah, like
I don't remember
Remedy.
any of them.
Like that's like Remedy's
No. Smaller than Remedy.
Right. Okay. So like the people who made Yanni or something, perhaps.
Again, even smaller, because that was EA. Like,
oh yeah, I suppose I forget that they published that.
Like all of the Warhammer games, they're all at the Game Awards. Literally all of them, include like all the different Dark Tides and Space Marine 2 and the 18 different strategy games they release in a calendar year.
Yes.
Every single one of them shows up at one of these awards.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any of them whenever they show up. And that's not a knock against them, but I think you're right. It doesn't help the show.
No. And
it drags it out. And it dilutes things.
And he doesn't have the chops to fix it. And this is what we have. We don't have...
Well, it's not even the chops is the thing. It's the situation. He doesn't own any of this. So for him to have a show at all, he needs to have 18 people be able to show it. And for it to be worth their time, he needs the show to make money.
No. I disagree with that only because he's got the viewers now and he's had the sponsors now. Like it's not some ragtag thing where he's just, calling every showcase that's happening nearby like his own thing. He's now E3, and this is how it's actually been for a couple of years without anybody really realizing, because E3 has decided to cancel itself always like ever so soon before it's meant to go live.
Like Summer Game Fest has been finding its feet the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It didn't exist 3 years ago.
Yeah, but like this is it now. Like this is all we have left.
Well, kind of.
Like aside from studios doing their own directs in the middle of
Yes.
of like, you know, March or February or whatever, which
I would argue are the things more closely more closely
More
tied
closely.
to original E3 than we get from Jeff.
yes, but the thing is, those were like those sprang out of COVID when we stopped doing live shows. But this,
Well, Nintendo and
Yeah.
PlayStation were both veering that way already.
yeah, I guess. But like the idea that like there would be a dominating week of news, and you know, like the other thing was that you would get like critics out there to play the games, and you would actually be able to get hands on. Like this
I'm
is
not saying it's that like E3, like it completely replaces it. I'm saying it's more like it than Summer Game Fest is.
yes, but that's
I get more excited for a PlayStation presentation or a Nintendo Direct than I do for a Game Awards or Summer Game Fest.
I am waiting 6 months. 1 year. Actually, no, I'm going to save that. Never mind. I'm going to save it at the end of the show when we got our predictions. I've got my prediction. I figured out my prediction for next year. I figured out my news prediction for next year.
All right, write it down, buddy.
Yeah, I am writing it down.
Write it down because we could be here another 2 hours
Yeah.
before we get to the bottom of the list.
Yeah. Speaking of a big one, the FTC Xbox hearing / documents leak. Jim Ryan, Pete Hines, Phil Spencer emails admitting to be in third place. Sony games costing over $200 million. This was a huge one.
And it was weeks of news.
It was weeks of news. It was some of the biggest news in games if there weren't more news stories this year.
Absolutely. And it was expertly reported by a number of people who I already knew were great in the industry and who my admiration for them only grew over this time as they did some excellent reporting this year. Like Tom Warren from The Verge, Rebecca Valentine they both did amazing work. More people as well. I don't mean to shortchange you. I'm sorry, but
Schreier as well.
There were so many things that came out of these testimonies, the evidence that the FTC brought and that the defenses brought. But they got everyone up on that stage. Like Xbox used this trial as an opportunity to force all of their major competitors to air their own dirty laundry. Like it was really weird. And like, I guess that's the only way you spin that to be worth it for you, right?
It was kind of fun.
It was. We got so much more transparency through the industry than we've ever had before. Yeah. And when I was reading through this to sort of come up with a summation of what we got there, I could see, Phil knew that he was going up on the stand, right? And he was going to be asked certain questions by his team, and they would have a rough understanding of the evidence that had been lodged prior, so they would probably have an understanding of what the FTC were going to bring up. He knew what he was going to say. There's an element of authenticity in a certain way, but also a spin.
Yeah.
They're there trying to say, oh, Sony dominates us, and they're going to... they're not even going to notice that we bought Call of Duty because they're so big and they're such bullies. And also look at Nintendo. We're not a monopoly here. Look at Nintendo. And everyone's like, why are you bringing up Nintendo? Like, there's, I think actually the some of the transparency we got here was quite false. However, the emails we got sent years ago through confidential email servers just on blast for everyone to see. You can't fake that shit.
It was so fun.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Like how they talk strategy or how Xbox responds to the PlayStation 5 reveal and what they think that means for their company. And also that shouldn't have been even revealed to the public, like how Sony ended up accidentally having their production numbers divulged to the public because people redacted those documents with Sharpie. And so when it was scanned in, everyone could just see what was meant to be redacted.
Yep. Yeah, we got
wild.
A tremendous amount of insight on both of these companies. Yeah, like a lot of the emails back and forth between like the execs at Microsoft Xbox was fascinating. Seeing the numbers, like as you said, the numbers that both Sony and Xbox make from like Call of Duty, like we knew it was big, but fuck, to see it written down was just something else, right? Like it was, it was like ungodly amounts of money.
Yeah.
And but it also helps inform, I think, a lot of the decision making that we've seen for a while, right? Like looking at the budgets of Sony's games, we now understand why they will not make Days Gone 2. Because of the budgets that they are pulling, they need to have mega hits basically every single time.
Yeah, because they're spending 9 digits worth of money on every game.
Yeah.
Not even low 9 digits.
Yeah.
Like $200 million. That's huge.
And yeah, 9 digits. Yes. Right. Yes. And the same as well. Like Xbox talking about like potential other studios that they were looking to acquire, and talking about reactions to other pieces of news, and like internal emails in between executives reacting to the other guys announcements and stuff is always interesting. And like when you've been around like basically any company that's like in those like the head of its own market, like you see like those emails are really common because executives love to talk about the competition. It's a thing that they thrive on talking about it. So you get to see that firsthand from some of the biggest players in one of the biggest industries is just always just a little bit like fun.
Oh, absolutely. Especially for this industry where we don't get any of that.
Yeah, like such a disgustingly secretive industry like this is. Getting that blown up in the way that they did, in a way that no one from those camps wanted it to be, was just a little bit delightful.
Yeah, we had a taste of it with the Epic versus Apple trial.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Like last year, but it was smaller because it was one mega publisher company with Epic against Apple about mobile apps. Like it was tech, it was mobile, it was software, it was games, it was in-app purchases. A
lot of the things as well back then is that some of those trials were happening still during lockdown.
Yeah, good point.
And so a lot of the things that were happening there is that like judges were reading things not knowing what the names of companies were, and that
was funny. And just reading things that were redacted or like meant to have been redacted.
Yeah, like deals that hadn't been properly finalized yet and were set to be announced, and the judges were reading them out, and they're like, "Judge, that's part of the redacted part of the document," and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the name of a company because it's." Like
it's like Inner Sloth or something. Like
it was the people that made RimWorld and stuff. The Paradox Interactive was one of them, and they just thought they were describing paradoxes.
Yeah, totally.
So funny.
I think in terms of back to the FTC trial, I think one of the biggest things that I thought of in terms of like juice, like goss, was one of Pete Hines' emails about how like he didn't know that Starfield was going to be exclusive. Like the head of marketing at Bethesda didn't know that Starfield was going to be exclusive until it was either an internal presentation or getting ready for an external one. And he came in with this really shirty email about like, I'm sorry, we're doing this, we're asked to do this all of a sudden, but now we can't, it was a full thing. And I'm wondering whether that had a decent amount to do with why he's retired this year.
Well, do you remember what it was as well? Is that there was 2 emails to 2 different people about the same thing. He wrote an email to Phil Spencer that was a lot more cut down and clean, and he wrote another email to one of the other Bethesda execs, and it was the same subject matter, but he was much more aggressive, not at this person, but just angry overall.
Like venting his
venting his frustrations. Look, maybe like Pete's been around for a long time. I'm glad that he's gone or leaving.
What?
Well, because he was the one that's like, he's the one that has got the vendetta against journos.
I don't know if that's a him thing.
No, it is a him thing.
I know he's head of marketing, but really?
Yeah,
no, him?
That was him.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah. Having spoken to people who are directly involved in that.
Yeah.
It's a him thing.
Oh, okay, that's intense. My biggest sort of non-presentation interactions with Pete Hines, or not interaction, I mean interacting with him, but he's done a couple of fun things with Kind of Funny where he'll go and do an interview or whatever. But like they called him before one of his E3 shows, like as it was starting, and they were like, "Can you like do something like on stage?" And he's like, guys, I don't know. He's like doesn't have to. We're not trying to get you fired, but like just let us know that you know that we're watching. He's like, all right, I'll tap my leg twice. And he gets up on stage and he taps his leg twice for the Kind of Funny audience. You know, he does that most conferences since that time. And that was like a fun, like, you know, get their game for Greg's bits where he just calls people out of the blue all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where my impressions of him is coming from, I suppose.
So as long as you're in his good books and you don't talk about the location of the next Fallout game that's coming out, then he'll be your mate. But if you ever consider working at the outlet that announced that and then want to change jobs, you won't get a Starfield code no matter what.
Yeah, that is intense.
Yes. Moving on. The Embracer's biggest fuck up of the year.
I think it's their biggest fuck up. Full stop.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Fair. Yeah. The beginning of Embracer's like tornado through the games industry.
And let's just quickly zoom out here on Embracer. This is the company that came out of nowhere with some funding and decided we're going to not only revive a brand that died a painful death and call ourselves the same thing for a time, but we're also going to pick up all of the properties that contributed to that slow, painful death.
Yeah.
And more, and just hope it goes okay. They became called. They were called. I'm pretty sure they're called Embracer because their whole shtick is acquisitions. It's their whole thing. It's been their whole thing for the last 5 years. Is gobbling up as many people as they can swallow.
Yes.
and they have a duty of care to all these people. But that's not what their focus was. And so when this went belly up, it's blowing off. It's blowing up in all of the people's faces of the people who they swallowed, who they embraced, rather than the executives.
So there's an article here from The Verge from August 15th from Wes Davis titled "Saudi Group Reportedly Abandons $2 billion Deal with the Lord of the Rings Game Company," which is
That's right, because we didn't know who it was for a while. We knew that a $2 billion deal had fallen through, but we didn't know who.
Yes. So it says here, Embracer Group was forced to halt its breakneck pace of acquisitions after a mysterious partner left a $2 billion deal intent to drive its continued gaming ambitions. Now we might know who the partner is. Axios reported today that the Savvy Games Group is the party that backed out of the deal in May. Savvy is owned by the Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Public Investment Fund, and it is the vehicle through which the Middle Eastern country funnels investments in the video games industry.
Which is scary every time I hear about it.
Like, that's bad money. that is
bad money.
That is
journalist killing money.
That is blood money.
Yes.
After the deal blew up, Embracer announced it was restructuring and that it would shut down or sell studios and pause some game developments. In a filing, the group said it expects to finish that process on October 1st and has already begun its studio pruning. That has continued well past October 1st. They had bought all of these game studios and they had basically put a lien on all of them because they were like, we don't have to be making money right now. We've got this $2 billion Saudi deal coming through. That's going to work for us. So we can just keep buying up shit and we'll worry about it later because we're going to get $2 billion to cover up, to cover the funds that we're doing. When that fucked up for them, that then sent a shockwave through all of these studios that is owned by them. And there's a lot of studios that Embracer owns.
It's their whole thing.
But they have so many studios. All of PlayOn is a subsidiary. So that's Deep Silver, that's Vertigo. They own Coffee Stain Studios. They own. They picked up Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, and Eidos.
And Eidos when Square sold all of that stuff. They own, if not they own at least a majority of stake of Gearbox Publishing, which is then all of the Gearbox studios below them. Mm-hmm. And then all of the THQ Nordic stuff. So like Handy Games, Rainbow Studios, Black Forest Games. They own Aspire. They own all of Saber Interactive. They own even more. Like there's some here that I'm skimming past because the list is so fucking huge.
Well, yeah. So then it's important to point out, not only did this deal fall through, but also the Knights of the Old Republic remake that Aspire was helming was not so quietly axed.
Well,
like
that game
summarily shelved, never to be worked on again. Like maybe it will be worked on again, but like it was taken out of their hands and no one's working on it right now.
Yeah. Well, like I read a report the other day that there's like literally 2 people still working on it.
Which is helpful for what?
I know. That I think was going to happen regardless based on the word around that project. But
yes, but it won't have helped their investments and their prospects, because I imagine that will mean the money that they had that was going to be coming from PlayStation or whatever is no longer coming.
Yeah. And that also meant that they had closed a bunch of studios. This year they closed Campfire Cabal, which was one of the THQ Nordic ones. They closed Goose Bite. They closed Volition, who were the people that made the new Saints Row. And they closed
the old Saints Row.
Sorry, yeah, all of Saints Row. But they made a Saints Row this year, right?
Last year.
Was it last year?
Yep.
Right. Recently.
Yeah.
Relatively.
Sorry. I keep putting it. Sorry.
And Free Radical Design, which was working on Time Splitters, but never made a game yet.
No. They brought them in, funded them, brought a whole team in to start working on a game, and then had to close them before they even got anywhere near close to bringing anything out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waste of time, waste of money, waste of people's lives. They're ruining people's lives.
Yeah. So,
and it's a big part of why we've seen so many studios this year close. Now, like, they're not all under Embracer. Not even half of the studios that we've seen affected by layoffs are under Embracer. But it sure as hell didn't help in the middle of an awful year to have this catastrophe lay waste to so many excellent teams and developers who are putting their heart and soul into what they want to spend their time into their livelihoods.
Yeah.
Oh, tragedy.
Up next on June 22nd, Final Fantasy 16 released.
Fuck yeah. What a cool release for a game that I wish was a bit better, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Yeah, really
Great
pretty.
Music.
Yeah. Yeah, good music. Good music.
Good performances.
Yeah, good acting for the most part.
Yeah.
I still don't like Clive.
Nah, I do. I'm a fan.
I
also,
wanted
particle effects in that game. Real good.
Oh yeah.
And the icon fights.
Yeah, no, like that shit was good. The icon fights were good, and
you haven't even seen like the best ones.
Yeah,
there's some awesome ones. Like next time I'm over, we should just sit down and like just stick on the like 4K icon boss fight and just watch some of the shit that you get up to in the rest of that game, because it's fucking sick, and I think you'd appreciate the spectacle of it.
Okay, all right. July 21, Pikmin 4 came out.
People say it's excellent.
People say it's excellent. I think it's cool that they're still making Pikmin games. I think it's cool that they brought all those recent ones onto the Switch. Also all the old ones onto the Switch, and I think it's cool that they're still making them, and I think it's cool that they're still making Pikmin-ass Pikmin games. Like, they aren't like changing it to be the most modern, up-to-date version of a franchise that existed way back when. They are just making sequels to the video game Pikmin.
Yep.
And it is still weird. And
apparently also good.
And like apparently also good.
People who play it say it's like genuinely really good.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that's neat.
It is neat.
A little game called Baldur's Gate 3 released into full release August 3rd, 2023. On
PC.
On PC. It had been in early access for about 3 years. And it finally hit 1.0. I think we'll just talk about it next week.
It felt like it came out of nowhere, like a fucking gopher.
No.
And all of a sudden it's like,
no.
Hey, I'm the best thing you've ever seen this year. Hey!
I don't know how you didn't see everybody talking about that game for the weeks and months leading up to it.
Only for like 1 or 2 months.
Oh, no.
It feels like. Prior to that, radio silence on my end, honestly.
Yeah, no, I had people like talking about games in the first half of the year being like, I want to play it, but I'm going to wait until Baldur's Gate comes out.
Yeah.
Like, that was the sentiment around it, was like, I know this is going to be special, so I've put time aside. Yeah, it was and is like one of the coolest games this year. August 21, Charles Martinet retires from voicing Mario and becomes a, quote, Mario ambassador, to which he was then to which he was then quoted to say, I don't really know what that means. Yeah. And
then like weeks later they came out with that phoned in response where he and Miyamoto talked to the camera, but in different places, clearly.
Oh, I really liked that video.
Yeah, but it was like, I think it was a response. Like, I think they moved Martinet on and they didn't realize people would notice or care. And then they realized they had to say something.
No.
And the response was weird. And then they finally got him on camera. Why didn't they announce it with this thing of them on camera? Why was it this drip feed of disappointment?
What do you mean drip feed of disappointment?
It took them like 4 weeks from when we first heard about it for them to release him talking to camera.
It wasn't that long. It was like it was not nearly that long. But like it was a nice video.
It was, but by the time it came around, I was too sussy of it. And honestly, I was just so scared that they were replacing him with AI.
Yeah, and that's fair, but like I think you're overblowing the timing of the video that came out after the fact. Because what it might have been was it might have just been a contract that they had that they just both agreed to not renew. And then they had to probably convince him to do a video or something. But like, it was a nice video. The weirdest part about the video was that they didn't introduce the new voice actor. That was the weirdest part, considering that we had already seen Wonder by that point. That was the thing that was confusing the most.
Nintendo doesn't want personalities to run their thing. Charles became big sort of despite themselves, and they ran with it because he was lovely. But they don't want to have another star who they have to manage or who could, they don't want, Nintendo doesn't want that front-facing thing that they can't control. They don't control their actors.
No, I know, but they had him on like basically retainer. It was a thing where like they were.
Yes, but they don't have. I doubt they have that with this new person.
I reckon they do. I reckon they've got him on like a 10-year Mario retainer. Because could you imagine saying no to that?
I don't think Nintendo's offering that.
I don't know. I reckon like
if they do, then great. Like
I don't think they're against personality because that's what Reggie was and that's what Sakurai is and
yeah, but they're company employees. Actors are not company employees.
No, I know, but I also think that they've like Mario almost like it worked for them, that I think that they wouldn't be against doing it again. Martinet worked well for Nintendo. Like as a partnership, it was a thing that they both contributed from.
So Nintendo of America published a tweet August 22nd saying Charles Martinet has been the blah, 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 blah. We heard about it for a few days or a week before that, I want to say. Like it was...
Oh, no, August 21 is what I've got. Oh. Because it was announced as a tweet. That was how it was announced, because it was like...
Yeah, but I thought we were hearing about it prior. I thought we heard rumblings. That he was not confirmed to be the voice of Mario Wonder. That this was when they finally officially addressed it.
There were those rumblings, but it was only because it just didn't immediately sound like Charles Martinet. But we didn't really know.
Right. And then 8th of September, we got the video update, official update. So 2
weeks,
almost 3 weeks after that tweet, which was a number of weeks after the Mario Wonder reveal, and people are like, hang on. So that's the thing. That was the thing for me. It was rumbling for a while.
Yeah, I think that they didn't get ahead of it as quick as they should have, but like,
It took a month.
yeah,
We saw Wonder in like June.
yeah, but like Nintendo just do that. They're just fucking weird.
They are fucking weird.
They're just
You're not
fucking
wrong.
weird. Yeah.
Anyway,
Armored Core 6 came out August 25th. We'll have more to say about that in Game of the Year.
much more. Much more.
August 30.
I love that game.
Yeah, me too. August 31, Embracer shuts down Volition. We spoke about that just before. September 13, Unity updated their pay policy to be a retroactive policy where if you made a certain amount of money and got a certain amount of downloads and a certain amount of installs, then you would have to start paying Unity good money over bad. And it was just one of the biggest fuck-ups I've ever seen.
Yep.
And it caused everybody who makes Unity games to potentially decide to move or bring their game down or whatever. It was just a huge fuck-up.
The Verge has a great article headline for this. Unity unites the indie game industry against its new pricing model.
Yeah. Yes. There's a fairly solid breakdown on our TikTok which goes through pretty much everything there. At the time, they ended up did reverse some of it. But it was just a clusterfuck, and there is no trust there now. They just shot themselves in the foot repeatedly over and over and over again.
Yeah, and they've been slowly doing something along those lines for a while now in terms of like dabbling with AI in their asset packs and like they were dipping their toes into murky waters that maybe no one actually wants.
Yeah,
except them because it makes them money.
The head of the company is a fellow who I think does not have the best interests of many people in mind.
Yep,
is how I will say that.
Megacrit, the studio behind Slay the Spire, posted there were a bunch of indie teams who started making statements about what the future of their studio and games were.
Yeah.
Here's Megacrit. One of their quotes was, and they did the classic, written statement in a tweet out of an image that is then posted online as very serious, just like blah, blah, blah. And the very bottom of it says, "We've never made a public statement before. That is how badly you fucked up."
Yeah.
Despite the immense amount of time and effort our team has already poured into development on our new title, we will be migrating to a new engine unless the changes are completely reverted and terms of service protections are put in place. Like, it was bad.
Very bad.
Nuclear bad.
People were being like, I'm going to learn Unreal and all that stuff.
Yeah, they swept people into all of the competition's arms.
Speaking of Unreal, on September 18th, Epic announced that they were divesting from Bandcamp and laying off 16% of their workforce.
Which for that company is fucking so many people.
That's a lot of people for a company, especially the size of them. Considering
the owners and creators of Fortnite.
Yes, the largest gaming property. The
owners and creators of Unreal Engine.
Yes, and owners of Bandcamp at that point. Or up until that point, rather.
Something again that I am completely baffled why they did that.
Oh, it was an investment. The entire reason they did it was an investment, and then the investment didn't work for them, and so they sold it. There was no intention to do anything good for the service there. They then sold it to I don't know if they're a worse company, but they're not a good company, and they have decided to just like completely fuck everything up for Bandcamp. Because well, like there's the company that's taking over from Bandcamp is like a money grabbing, like shitty, like financing company. That will not be good for Bandcamp, and that will not be good for artists who release on Bandcamp.
They're owned by Song Trader now,
yes.
Where Trader is without the E.
Yes.
Trader.
This will kill Bandcamp at some point. Bandcamp will no longer exist in probably 4 or 5 years. This will kill it. It'll be slow and painful, and there'll be another one that'll come up, and everyone will move to the new thing, and then eventually that'll get bought, and the capitalism snake will just continue to eat itself.
Yummy.
Speaking of capitalism snakes, the FTC Xbox documents were unintentionally disclosed, showing off.
This was hilarious.
This was so good. This was
the same trial that had finished or was continuing to drag on a little bit, but like had kind of been ruled on. But then more like there was like a follow-up hearing, and then Xbox unintentionally disclosed a number of very classified, very important documents.
Yeah.
That our excellent reporters and Reddit also probably were far too quick to pick up before they could stop it reaching the public.
Yeah. And so we got information about hardware and software and timelines and
like
SKUs.
next gen.
Yeah, next gen, and the ideas behind the console after the next gen. And just a tremendous amount of information. Like, new controllers and the like code names and all of this stuff, like internal stuff. It was
the rundown of stuff that I grabbed, which was I thought pertinent, was we're looking at an Xbox Series X/S refresh next year.
Mm-hmm.
Got a new controller that looks to include some features from the PS5, like haptics, plus a direct-to-cloud feature potentially. Designs to purchase Nintendo. They also mentioned Sega in the previous court hearings, but this one they were talking about buying Nintendo. We've got Bethesda remasters coming. Next gen is slated for 2028, and Series S is more popular than most people expected, which we've got for we know for certain from those documents.
There we go.
Just one normal weekday.
It's just a regular week in 2023. It was fascinating.
Yes,
and it's still up there because once it's up, you can't take it down. Barbara Streisand told us all that. And so it's like
it's called the Streisand effect.
Yes, because of Barbara Streisand. You know what that's about?
I thought I was saying that incorrectly, and I thought that was a joke. But did I actually just say that was the right thing?
Barbara Streisand,
like the Streisand effect. I thought that was.
It's because of Barbara Streisand.
Saying like trying not to make something big makes it bigger.
Yeah. That's what the Streisand effect is.
Oh, okay. In my head, I was not thinking of this as that situation. I was thinking of this as Genie being let out of the bottle.
Right. Yeah. No. Like the. Oh yeah. I guess it's yeah. Because the Streisand effect is if you try and hide it, it gets bigger. This is
because I don't think Xbox tried. I think they were like
actually
they privated the things.
They did private it, but they did release a statement pretty quick, being like, "Hey, we really wish this wasn't out there." Like this stuff is in flux. Things change all the time, which is true. And my understanding is that like already a lot of this information is well out of date. That like
that's it, right? It was like 2022 documents or.
Yeah, and like I read something today that I think that they've like reordered some of the release of some of the hardware that they were planning on showing off. That we might not be getting the Series X thing next year, but we probably might get it the year after. But it's a whole thing anyway. It's a good read. Just because it's just fascinating to see these internal documents.
Yeah, very transparent.
Yeah.
Very not for public.
Yes.
In the public.
That day also, Lies of P released.
Hell yeah.
I really wish I played more of this game.
How much did you play?
Not nearly enough. I got past the manor bit at the beginning, like the mansion. But like
Hotel Krat?
Yeah, I'm like real early.
The hub area.
Yeah.
So you beat you did the prologue.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go back. It was just too fucking busy.
No, fair enough. Totally. I played the demo when it came out around Summer Game Fest, and then I played it on Game Pass and decided I wanted to play it on my PlayStation, and then I waited for a sale. And recently, I just barely got past the demo. I'm like 2 bonfires past the demo area.
Yeah, right.
That game feels good, looks good, plays good, is good. I'm very excited to play more of that game. That's probably the Souls-like game I'm most excited about at the moment in terms of the ones I haven't played yet.
What?
It's great.
I know.
And I'm in the middle of it, and it looks great.
Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
I'll get to that one day. I think Sekiro is next for me after Bloodborne, after Lies of P.
Sekiro.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I'm not saying the others aren't exciting. I'm saying I'm most excited about this one.
A week later, on the 26th of September, Cyberpunk
Bloody
2077 Phantom Liberty came out.
Alongside the 2.0
Alongside the
free
2.0
update.
patch. That's a good game now.
That game is a good game now. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's still, a little icky for me. I still don't know how I feel about the game in general. I'll never forget the random tweets they had as from the studio that were kind of turfy.
Yep.
Well, not even turfy, just like
edgelordy.
What's transphobic? That's the word I was looking for. And then also their like marketing material is all very fetishizing, but the game's pretty competent. Like it's kind of competent in a way that Starfield wasn't. We didn't even write Starfield down, but Starfield released in here.
I just realized that.
Yeah. And this kind of feels better than Starfield in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's not trying to be the same thing.
No.
But it is so much more interesting in so many ways.
Yes.
I remember doing a lot of work on Starfield and then working a bit on Cyberpunk. And having that game be so focused on Night City, and that's like how big it is and broad it is. And like that's the big world that you're in is a city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you compare that with like New Atlantis in Starfield, which is this like disconnected thing where nothing's happening and there's no map and and there's nothing outside the city. There's nothing even pretending to be outside the city. There's just generated terrain outside of it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is different.
Yep. The next day, September 27th, Jim Ryan announced that he is stepping down, or he will step down.
It was 6 months from that date, wasn't it? So it's in March.
He said like I think early 2024 is what he said.
Yeah.
Citing like travel and exhaustion just from being like top dog at Sony, which is fair enough because it's especially this year it seemed to be a very tiring job, flying from country to country. Trying to block your competitors from putting through the largest deal in the industry.
Yeah.
Working
for a Japanese studio, living in Europe, and having to do a lot of your work in America. I think,
it's a lot.
It's pretty reasonable.
And he's an old man. Like he's been around for quite a long time. Travel is harder when you get older, especially.
Yeah, when you're 90 plus, it's way harder to do that shit.
Not 90. I was trying to be like
I don't
cordial.
think he's that old. It's just the way you said that. I just had that image in my head. Like, I had to give that back to you.
Cocoon released September 29th. I've not played it. You have? You like this?
I've played an hour or two of it. It's good. It's got Limbo Inside vibes in a weird way.
Really?
Not in like tonality of like it's not like you die and blood and gore and all of that, but in terms of like the types of puzzles and the way it's presented and how minimalistic it is,
right.
It's a good vibe. And that's not for nothing. Some of the creators of that game, some of the directors or designers of those games, made this.
They're from that's right, because they're a new studio that span off from some of the folks who were at Playdead. Yeah, right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and you can feel it in the game.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Okay. October 1st it wasn't October 1st, but like the beginning of October.
The first week of October.
Well, the first couple weeks of October.
Sorry, for you. Sorry, yes.
Melbourne International Games Week, then leading into PAX Australia, then leading into South by Southwest Sydney, and then leading into a long sleep at home. Australian International Games Month is how I described it in my Kotaku article.
Which I really meant to shout out at the start of the show, and now we're 2.5 hours in. I apologize, Jeremy, but everyone should go read Jeremy's sum up of the year over on Kotaku. Jeremy's got he's published on Kotaku. How cool is that?
I've got a writing credit there.
It's amazing.
Which is cool.
But yes, cool. Australian
International Games
Month.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was some of the best couple weeks of my life. Just a fucking incredible time. I met so many amazing people, but also just like overall the vibes of the events were like really good.
Yeah.
And they will only get better.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking good time. Such a fun time.
Absolutely. That's the first PAX I've been to since 2019, and it was tremendous. It was great. First PAX I went to with a media badge. I think we made some of our most exciting content, or some of the content I've been most excited for while we were there.
Yeah, it was great fun.
And yeah, we got to meet a lot of people. It was great doing stuff on camera with you again, or just in person with you again.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in so long.
Yeah.
And it was like riding a fucking bike. It was sick.
And doing it on location as well. Like, there's a different feeling to it. There's excitement and energy, obviously, but there's also like, there's just a vibe that PAX brings, which is why I've like always dropped everything to go, and I will always drop everything to go. You know, eventually when PAX Australia disappears, I will put on my resume that I went to every single one. And I have every single badge that I've ever been to PAX with.
Yeah. Those are really fun collectibles. I like those.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
October 13th, Microsoft finally finished its Activision Blizzard acquisition after, jet setting around the world and being in various courts over the various
like they
years.
solved the FTC, and then the European Trade Union, or whoever it was, said no, and then they had to make a deal. And
well, the EU was weirdly enough one of the easiest ones to get through. The one that was one of the biggest linchpins was the United Kingdom's Trade Commission.
Oh, was it UK?
Yeah, it was, and it was not what me or anybody was expecting, because the EU's antitrust laws are usually quite strong. But for some reason, it just sort of went through there without much hassle.
Yeah.
But the UK was the one that they had to do the deal on game streaming.
Yeah, with all their game streaming rights in Europe going to Ubisoft first.
Which was the second last domino, which then fell into the FTC, because at that point they were the only ones left, and they had sort of not prepared well enough for this trial realistically.
Well, yeah, they did an okay job to start with, but they didn't have the stamina and the wherewithal to keep up against Microsoft.
Which is just scary, isn't it?
It's hard when you consider the FTC's resources, and they're a company that has to look after monopolization in every industry in America.
Yes. Yeah.
No wonder they weren't prepared. What are you fucking gonna do against Microsoft?
I know.
They did a good job, I thought, for a while, even though it didn't work.
And they're not weak, right? They've been all fucking year they've been dealing with Warner, Comcast, Discovery, Max, that whole fucking shebang. It probably really took a lot of the resources away from the Xbox thing, because they just didn't have the time to properly fucking prep for everything.
Yeah.
And then last.
Yeah.
October 17, Alan Wake 2 releases.
Hell yeah, it does.
Fuck.
What a weird game.
What a fucking game.
I still don't know how I feel about this game, because I remember last week I told you I accidentally played an entire chapter.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it since.
Yeah, right.
I finished that chapter and I'm like, I know I'm at the start of another chapter. I know that's 2 to 3 hours. I know I might get that midpoint like I did last time, where I'm like, ugh. And so I've got this inertia with this game. I can't get past it, but I really liked it last time. So I'm really surprised that that's the case.
Oh, just jump back in. Just do another chapter.
I'm such a basket case, Jeremy. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I'm going to talk more about this game next week.
Me too.
Super Mario Wonder released 3 days later on October 20th.
Oh, you forgot to put in Sonic in here. That released
No,
October
it's fine. This game's really good. I'll probably talk about more of that next week as well.
I have 6 hours played of that game.
I think I beat it, and I think I did everything. I think at about 18.
Yeah, 2 of those hours with my mum, and then I replayed those levels.
Nice.
So
yeah,
I'm going back to that game.
oh, you should. It's good. It's just a delight.
I
know. Ghost Runner came out. Spider-Man came out that day as well. Same day. Spider-Man and Mario.
Criminy.
Yeah. I don't know when I'm going to go back to that.
Man, I love that game. You covered Mario. I've covered Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That game's great. I'm dying for them to come in with New Game Plus.
Yeah, right.
I want another reason to get back in there, but not just waste time. I want to earn towards a couple of new abilities or something, or some new cosmetics. I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, right. Then a week
I like
later,
that game so much I played through the entire first game afterwards.
I mean, that sounds like a better time than the second, but like,
It wasn't.
right?
It was different.
Oh dear.
No, I'm saying 2 was better.
Yeah, I know. I'm teasing you because I didn't. I think the more I think about 2, the less I like it.
Yeah, but you didn't. You barely passed the front of it.
Yeah, but like that's the game's fault because I love Spider-Man 1. Like I was ready for Spider-Man 2.
I think it's not entirely the game's fault.
Ghost Runner 2 came out a week later.
Cynical person than you were 5 years ago.
Perhaps, but it didn't help. I can just sling it back. Ghost Runner 2 came out a week later. You reviewed that game.
I sure did review that game for minimap.com.au. That game slaps. That game's wicked sick.
I'm really sad I haven't played it.
Yeah, we need to set up Steam sharing so you can just do that.
I think I've got a code. I think they sent me 2 by mistake, and I just didn't realize. I got to check.
You should redeem that and play it.
Probably
in January.
Yeah.
That game's great. I don't know if it's going to crack my top 5 this year, but I think it's cracked top 5 moments for me. And if we think about like best moments in a game, like the Ice Worm in Armored Core, for example.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be up there for me. With either certain mechanics or certain set pieces or certain moments or a combination of all of them. It's got some great vibes, some great levels, great movement, excellent soundtrack, great style. I really enjoyed that game. You can read my full thoughts on that on minimap.com.au. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Cool. Dave the Diver came out the day later. I've not played it, but apparently people really like that game. People really, really like that game.
Didn't it come out way earlier than that?
I don't know. That's what I've got here. October 27.
That's what I've got here too. Let's see when it came out on Steam. 28th of June. I think it came out on Switch in October.
Ah, okay. Well, that game came out well before then. I've not played.
It's been in early access, but
yeah. Next up,
cool.
Bungie laid off 100 employees on October 30th.
Messed up.
Yeah, very sad. We've spoken about that fairly recently because that wasn't that long ago where we had long thoughts about that and the year of layoffs.
Something I'll add to it. Rebecca Ballantyne has been doing excellent reporting on Bungie for the last couple of years, and she had a follow-up piece a couple of weeks later that morale is at an all-time low.
Yes.
And that leadership is being cagey, standoffish, unpleasant to work with, and no better, potentially worse since the layoffs. It is not looking good over there.
This does not surprise me based off, like, when you lay off that many people, like, it's like you don't get stronger because of that.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And especially when leadership doesn't change around it.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
It's bizarre that it's got me sitting here going, I kind of hope PlayStation takes over and tries to make it work differently. Make something change. Because they aren't changing. They're stuck.
Yeah.
They're creating problems for themselves. And they're not looking under the covers and addressing what the root causes are.
Maybe.
They're stuck.
I think I need to see who takes over PlayStation next before I want that.
It could be, I'm not saying it's, like, I say that and I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
Because, like, that is external people coming in. That's a mismatched culture, mismatched goals. Like, I don't say that lightly. It's just current leadership over there
is not working.
Seems to really be missing the mark.
Yes.
Really, really badly.
Definitely. That leads into another point, which was, I think much more recently, but it was the cancellation of The Last of Us factions, The Last of Us Online, whatever their multiplayer was going to be.
Everyone, if you're holding a drink, pour one out for Buddy Watson.
That was the first thing I saw when that was announced.
You and I both independently tweeted, quote tweeted an announcement and said, "Is Buddy okay?"
Did you actually do it as well? I didn't see yours.
Yes, I did.
That's
I
so
almost
funny.
ribbed you about it because I think I was first, but I was like, nah.
Fuck, that's funny.
I said I'm really sad about this, but honestly, I'm mostly just gutted for Buddy.
I think what I said was like, has anyone checked on him?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it seems like it was the right call, based on what they said, where they were like
earlier in the year they'd shelved it, right?
Well, but also just like they said, like that the studio at this point was at like a fork in the road where they could go down one route and make a live service game and have to take people off their single player projects, or they can continue making their multiple single player projects that they're currently in development as well. And they went for the latter. I think that's overall a good decision. I don't know why you would even consider putting all of Naughty Dog on a single live service project. To me, that's an insane fucking thing to do. Are you kidding?
And you know, they made the choice not to do that.
They
right?
did, which is great.
The thing that's wild is that this game was scoped so gigantically to the point where they had to consider that.
Yeah.
It did not need to be that.
No, it
this
didn't.
could have been just an excellent multiplayer mode, like they've done in the past, and that would have been fine.
Yeah.
They supported factions for years on the PS3 and PS4, and it didn't have to be a live service. It was just like, oh, let's put a new gun in. Oh, it's a little fucking unbalanced. All right, we'll fix that. We fixed it.
Yeah.
Like,
anyway.
Factions is so good.
It's good. It's really good. It is good.
And it's a modern version. A modern version of Factions would have been even better.
It's much better than the Uncharted multiplayer.
Yes.
And there was some thought and uniqueness and consideration behind it that was cool.
And it made sense of some of their design decisions in the single player game in a way that made more sense in a multiplayer context than others. Like, it recontextualized things and felt better in certain ways in the multiplayer than it did in single player.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm kind of upset that things got to that point that it was so overscoped that they just had to bin it.
Yeah, right.
Like, fucking, their eyes are bigger than their stomachs. They rein it in, Naughty Dog. Just make an excellent game that's 12 hours long. Just make a multiplayer mode and move on. It's okay.
Yeah.
December. I don't want to write about that, but
hey,
I kind of want to write about that. Like,
do it.
Naughty Dog's over ambition.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto 6 finally gets officially revealed after being leaked about 2 weeks prior to it from the art director's son's best friend's TikTok account or something.
Remember, we got a tweet. We got a tweet from them in like late October, early November saying, we're so excited. It's the 25th anniversary of Grand Theft Auto. It's done this much for the thing. We will show you a trailer in early December. And I want to say even that was leaked by Schreier like 3 hours before that tweet went live.
Yeah, it was, we're going to hear from Rockstar very soon.
Yeah, and then we did. But it was kind of like maybe they pushed that as early as they did because the news was out.
Yeah.
And then you're right. And then things started dribbling out over TikTok.
So funny. So fucking funny.
And then the full trailer leaked like 6 hours before the premiere of the actual one.
And it had like a massive like buy Bitcoin thing all over it. Which is what forced them to release it early. I'm really excited for this game.
You are? We haven't. I don't think we've spoken about this.
We haven't, because it fell straight into the Game Awards after the fact, and it was just
right.
We just didn't talk about it. I'm really excited for this.
Jeremy, me too.
Yeah,
I really like that trailer. It's an excellent trailer,
and just like I just really like Rockstar's worlds. They're just really good. You know what? I had a fucked up thought yesterday.
Okay,
I was like, I should
just for something new and different.
Yeah, I should play all of Grand Theft Auto 4.
Okay.
4.
So, here's the thing. I agree, because I think that's the best one.
I think
As someone who hasn't played 3, Vice City or San Andreas, I think that's the best
I was going to say I really like San Andreas.
I think it's better than 5. Let me say.
Right.
Single player, hands down.
There's something about them. Because I think about Red Dead a lot. Because I get a lot of Red Dead content now just sent to me because I just love it every time. But there's something about their worlds, and even I know you don't love 5, but even the world of 5, I think that they're all
I don't mind the world of 5.
They're all so living, breathing fucking things. It feels so real in the way that Night City eventually felt real in Cyberpunk 2.0. It's got this there's correct decisions being made around things. And just the amount of fucking shit that's in that 6 trailer is
it's bonkers.
Oh no.
The level of detail, number of NPCs on screen, the quality of the cinematics, the hair, lighting and physics, all of the different styles of hair, the neon lights, the cars, the density of a main street in the middle of the night, everyone going to the club. It's intensely exciting.
Yeah.
The even just the tech they've got showing off in the game, let alone whatever exciting decisions that allows them to make from that. I haven't seen a game look this next gen since, or exciting in a technology sense, since honestly the Ratchet and Clank demo we got. Which saw that,
which was very specifically targeted at a piece of hardware, right? That was so all about asset streaming and loading. Look what we can do. This is a show off of this. Whereas GTA 6 is we're just making a game that's going to take advantage of everything.
Yeah, which I love because honestly, I don't think we've gotten that from Xbox or Sony yet.
Yeah,
not properly. Not like Naughty Dog routing the art pipeline through certain transistors because it's more efficient levels of optimization. We've gotten getting more out of what we've got, which is great. Games are looking better than they have before, but nothing that's really been here's what this system can do.
It was finally getting Uncharted 4, right? Because that was the moment on PS4.
Precisely.
Red Dead Redemption as well was pretty close up there.
Yeah.
That was another one that was this is we're here, we've arrived.
But in a way, Red Dead 2 felt like it felt like GTA 5 made pretty, made to the new spec. Does that make sense? I wasn't.
It makes sense,
How do I say this without sounding completely ignorant?
Well, I think I disagree.
Yeah, and I didn't play the game that much at the time, and I didn't have a PS4 Pro. There's a lot of things going on there. However, it is pretty, and it does last, and its sense of style is excellent. But it never made my jaw drop playing Red Dead 2 in terms of fidelity and technology.
Oh, you got to play more in that game. No, only because they do it they do it often, and it's not about realism, or
bombast, right?
There are bombastic moments, but it's different. It's not fly a helicopter and pick up a car with a giant magnet. It's the most thrilling horseback chase you've ever had that then turns into a train heist. And that shit is really exciting and technically incredible, but it's Red Dead is
quietly incredible.
Kind of. It's a little bit more subtle with its fidelity because the characters don't look like GTA characters. They look like
no. They are better. They are definitely better.
Right? No, but I mean, as in they don't look like the same style. If you had put Michael next to Arthur, they don't they clash.
Yeah,
and
that's because that game came out on PS3.
No, but I mean, even PS5 Michael, right? The characters still look good in Red Dead, but they have a different stylistic to their textures and that even just the body shape of and their facial structures. There's a lot more style going into I think the Red Dead characters that makes it not feel like a one-to-one realism thing that they're going for, whereas they're going
I
for
see what you're saying.
yeah, like they're going for a stylized West that also happens to be very graphically, its graphic fidelity is also very high, but it's still, you know, like the way the sun comes through and like hits the bayou and like the fireflies, you know, it's fiction, but it's real fiction. It's like Avatar. Red Dead is like Avatar. Whereas
you're really running roughshod over this point that you're making at the end here.
Red Dead is like Avatar, and Grand Theft Auto is like Heat. That's deeply accurate that I cannot begin to tell you.
We don't have time for you to tell me.
Don't have time.
That's okay. Jeremy, I have played more of that game since that trailer came out.
Which game?
Red Dead.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Like 4 or 5 hours in the last couple of weeks. I have played Red Dead 2.
Okay.
Because of the trailer.
Yeah, right. Like, cool. Dope. I didn't know this.
I know. We really haven't spoken. It's just been complete, like... Because you know why? We did a show hours before the trailer leaked.
Yeah.
It leaked that like Tuesday early morning for us. Like the trailer was out when I woke up the next day. And I was like, I got on the phone call at work and they were like, oh, I really want to buy Bitcoin right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, the GTA 6 trailer leaked. I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm literally been awake for 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
But yeah, that trailer's mad impressive.
Yeah.
And
really exciting.
I don't think we're seeing it next year.
No, they like...
What was it?
It's 2025.
Yeah.
We might see it late.
Late 2025?
No. No, I think we'll get another trailer late 2024.
Oh, we'll see the game.
Right.
Yeah. But just we won't have it in our hands.
I think like honestly, like October, November, they're gonna hit for the big Christmas push. It's gonna be the best-selling game of the year, maybe of all time. And
of all time. The thing is, they can release whenever they want, and it can be that.
Yeah, but they can capitalize. Like they can just
think about how rarely GTA 5 went on sale until it was like 7 years old. You know, like if it did, it was like 15% off.
Yeah.
You know, they can release that game whenever they want to.
Yeah, but like they'll get a multiplier on that if they release it like October, November.
Yeah, no, that's true. They released it. It was meant to GTA 5 was meant to release in May, and then got pushed to September.
Yep.
But yeah, they've said that it's set to release in 2025. That we're not gonna. That it's at least 12 months away, and more like 18 to 24 is reasonable. But that trailer looks like that already is unreasonable. It looks really good.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it does. Yes.
Unreasonably good is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Anyway, that's enough about that.
Speaking of unreasonable, the Game Awards that happened December 4th. You can listen to last week's episode to hear our thoughts about that.
Yeah, we also gave you a lot of it with Summer Game Fest.
Yeah.
But this year's showing was
pitiful.
Very disappointing, and the worst version of itself than it could possibly have been, I think. So far.
And then earlier this week, or last week, the day before releases the game, then delists the game, and then the studio closed down. What a fucking mess. Just what a fucking mess.
You've been following this one all year.
I've been following this one for years.
Oh, years?
Years.
Oh.
2 years.
Oh.
And on the same day, the ESA officially confirmed that E3 is now dead. We spoke about this a little bit earlier, but yeah, E3 is now officially not coming back.
They're not even going to try.
Not even going to try. And that's the year so far.
Tune in next week.
We've got a couple weeks left for a December surprise.
Maybe more court documents can be unprivatized.
Nintendo were like, "Hey, here's the new Nintendo." We're not getting that. We're not getting that this year. We're going to see that very early next Japanese financial year.
Yes.
Nintendo have basically all but said that. There are a couple of things that happened this year. There's some adaptations of games turned into TV shows and movies. I think I want to cut that because I think I want to talk more about that later.
When?
Like next year. I want to talk to that specifically as a larger topic, I think.
Okay, yeah.
There was some that came out this year. Last of Us.
We're looking at plenty to come out next year.
Yeah, like Fallout and, obviously more Mario movies. Sonic 3, I think, is coming next year.
That Knuckles show.
Yeah, Knuckles is getting a show. And they announced the Zelda movie like a few months ago as well.
Yeah.
Like that, we'll be getting a lot more of those very soon.
Yep.
Hopefully, Josh Trank's The Shadow of the Colossus movie is well on its way. I'm looking forward to that.
Or Oscar Isaac as Snake.
I don't think that's gonna happen, dude. I don't like it's been long enough.
If that doesn't happen, all I need to see is a cosplay. That's all I want.
Like as in him or like
just him.
Him in the
I need
suit?
him in a full outfit. Couple of good photos.
Oh, no, that was last year. I was gonna say we didn't even include the Halo TV show, but that was last year. Season 2's in February. Very excited to hate watch. Finishing up, just a quick, how do we feel about the 4 big players of the year being Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC, which is kind of just like Epic, Steam,
NVIDIA.
This year for Microsoft.
What a weird year, man.
What a not very good year.
In terms of releases and games, no.
It's been Cocoon, kind of. That's
just publishing. Same with Lies of P. Like, great, they got it on Game Pass. Cool. Yeah. Persona's around. Great. You didn't make that.
No. Well, they Xbox Game Studios worked on Cocoon, right? Like, they published that game as opposed to just having it day one. I don't think so. Am I misremembering?
That's Annapurna, isn't it?
Oh, it might be Annapurna. Yeah, sorry, I think you're correct there.
Yeah, it's Annapurna.
So their year this year was then Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush, Redfall, Starfield,
Minecraft Legends.
Yeah.
Age of Empires something maybe.
A week year in releases.
Starfield.
Yeah. Forza. That's the one I was forgetting. Forza.
Yeah, everyone did.
Yes, which is a fucking shame because I was so excited for that game for years.
Yeah, it's a major shame.
Yeah. Forza deserves better for how many bangers they have actually put out over the past couple of years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they got their flowers for Horizon 5.
Yeah, I know, but like a new motorsport, right? Like it's a different thing, and bringing that in, being like, hey, like we've been killing it on the Horizon front. Like now here's the next generation of motorsport, and no one cares about it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily because, no one gives Turn 10 their due. I think it came out and people didn't feel it was that exciting of a release.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's a shame that like the first motorsport in forever has realistically not been good.
Right.
Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Like it was not a positive release is what I mean.
Yeah. And Redfall was such a cluster.
Yeah, Redfall was a complete failure.
And that's such a shame from Arcane. It was a darling studio in the industry.
It was the Arcane that usually doesn't make better games than the other one because they've got 2 because there's Leon and the other one.
Right, but they really played to outside of their strengths with this.
Yes.
And Phil Spencer came out as saying this is what they wanted to work on. This wasn't it wasn't
mandated by them at all. This was the game that they wanted to work on because it was they had started to work on it before Microsoft even bought them. This was a Bethesda thing.
Now, I have thought about this. What were Bethesda making before they were acquired? Fallout 76.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein Youngblood. and
Yeah.
Redfall was in development. So what I'm saying there with that is maybe they were under pressure by ZeniMax to make service stuff, even if Xbox wasn't pressuring them to do it. So
maybe,
like,
but there was enough time to cancel the project if they didn't want to make it. Is the thing. There was enough
I don't know
like
how this came out so bad.
Yeah, it is not like and the post release support was also kind of like, we're not going to really do much here. It came out buggy and didn't perform very well. Like it just kind of came out like not good across the board. You know, like Xbox have not been focusing on games this year. They have been focusing on getting this court trial in. And so for them, they've had a good year from their perspective because they finally got the deal over the line, no matter what it cost. You know, between leaked emails and hardware plans and being dragged through the mud and like being subpoenaed over and over again and then releasing Redfall. And you know, those things aren't tangentially, they're not directly related, but it's their year has been weird as fuck.
And it was after another weird year and then another weird year before that. I don't know what Xbox is doing aside from buying people.
Yep.
They're funding some cool projects in the future, maybe, but every time we think we're going to get something cool, something comes out and it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, not to say that all of these projects are doomed, not to say that all of these studios can't make anything good, and not to say that the people working on these projects that are seen as failures didn't try, didn't care. We know there is a human cost to all of this, and there is blood, sweat, tears, energy, effort, excitement. And
there are some bangers, but it's there's the small ones have been the ones that have actually made like. The ones that I look at go like, yeah, this is great. It's like Pentiment came out and is awesome, and Hi-Fi Rush came out and was quite good, but their big tentpole ones are the ones that are collapsing under whatever weight of the size of the project they're trying to make.
And like same with Starfield, right? Like Starfield was a success in some metrics, but when you look at what Skyrim does, what Fallout does, I'm sure they actually consider it to be something of a failure.
Yeah,
and it's new IP. It was probably a risk, but
it's not reached the level that they wanted it to reach. Neither is Halo Infinite. Forza has not either.
Apparently Infinite's making something of a comeback finally 2 years later. I'm hearing buzz.
Okay. Well, we'll see. They've got a bunch of just awkward things, and it's the same thing that we've said for years now. It's like, what's coming is exciting, but it's like, I don't know when that is.
Yeah.
Like Obsidian seem to be the ones that are like doing the best work over there, between Grounded and Pentiment, and Avowed is coming out next year, and they've greenlit a sequel to the Outer Worlds, which is, you know, I didn't expect that or like really ask for that, but if they want to do something cooler than what they did in the past, then like you've got my trust. I can't believe that. I can't believe Obsidian seem to be doing the most interesting things there, between them and I guess the Sea of Thieves people.
Rare.
Yeah. So weird. So fucking strange.
Weird. Hellblade still doesn't have a date.
Yeah. PlayStation's
I want them to succeed.
Yeah. And like, they've got so much money that eventually they probably will get there. It's just taking for fucking ever.
Yeah, like sit down, and I think they will do this because I think they're all a little rocked by what happened with Activision. I want them to sit down and fucking clean house and get your house in order. Like, not to say like kill studios, to say like actually support them.
Yeah.
Help these games be worth your time and money and our time and money. Like, what are we here for, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird.
It is really weird. And it's kind of like the Steam playbook, where like Valve just didn't have to make games for a long time because they owned the store. It feels kind of like
Game Pass is good enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
PlayStation.
Speaking of weird.
Speaking of really weird.
Oh, man. So PlayStation, I don't think they got like worse than they were last year, but I think they continued along the same weird path that they started really walking down last year, with their bizarre choices when it came to their PS Plus revamp and their bizarre choices of hardware announcements and costings.
Yeah.
We just saw the continuation of that.
Yes. And it's felt reactive. And a lot of the decisions have not felt like that they have made the decisions because they think that this is going to be really awesome. But they've made the decisions because, like, well, we have to.
Yep.
And that doesn't make any fucking sense because they don't have to.
Nope.
They need to do better, but they don't have to make the decisions that they've made. You know, they sure released The Last of Us Part 1 again this year.
Yeah. To hilarious results on PC.
Yes. I forgot about that. You know, Spider-Man was a success for them. Like in no uncertain terms. Final Fantasy 16, while not a game that they made, it has been successful for them.
Yeah, not Square, but
yeah, not Square. I don't know how they feel about PSVR 2. I'm sure they're not thrilled about it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what their game plan is for that yet, because it feels like that they've barely done anything with it. They sort of just put it out. Like, have they fully executed on their plan for that piece of hardware yet? Phil Spencer leaving, I'm sure, has sort of got him in a little bit of a state of like, okay, sorry, Phil Spencer. Jim Ryan leaving at the end next year has probably got them in a state of like, okay, well, let's maybe just sort of put everything on the brakes. Maybe that's why they brought out the Portal and just like they've just sort of done headphones and are just like, okay, let's just sort of see what's going on here, because they don't know who the next guy is going to be yet, and so maybe they're not like, they don't want to get a project greenlit only for it to be cancelled by the new guy, or they want to pitch the new person something that maybe Jim wouldn't have immediately approved, or who knows. Like,
Jeremy, I'm on PlayStation's website.
Yes.
For PlayStation Studios specifically.
Uh-huh.
And they've got a new releases and upcoming games, and it looks like it goes from most recent to least recent. I'm going to stop reading game names when I get to last year, okay? So we've got Marvel Spider-Man 2, most recent, October 20th. We've got MLB The Show 23.
Oh, I didn't realize
That's it.
I didn't. Oh.
Next one after that is God of War Ragnarok, Last of Us Part 1, Gran Turismo, Horizon Forbidden West, and then the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. Yeah. 2 of those new releases and upcoming games are Naughty Dog re-releases, both of which came out last year. And we're getting another one in the month.
And they just brought out DLC for God of War Ragnarok, and they brought out DLC for Horizon Forbidden West as well early this year. So it's not like that's been like that's something.
Yes, you're right.
But it's been
Final Fantasy console exclusive did also get DLC, third party. That's great.
Yeah. But it's been light.
Very light this year. And,
you know, obviously now Naughty Dog is sort of we're not going to see them, I think, for a little bit now. After The Last of Us Part 2, remastered, whatever the fuck it's called.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to see them for a while because now they need to sort of get back on track with everything. Hopefully everybody
stop remaking their games.
Hopefully everybody that's working there will continue working there. You know, we know they're going to make a Ghost of Tsushima 2. We might see that next year announced.
Yeah.
I'm sure Insomniac they've got the Wolverine obviously next, and probably a Venom game following after that. There'll be a third Horizon at some point, but we're not going to see that for a few years.
Yeah. We know Cory Barlog's working on something at Santa Monica.
Yeah. And like the Days Gone people are probably working on something. And they've got some of their smaller studios, like Team Asobi are probably working on something, and we'll see whatever Gen Design is working on at some point. But like it's
Housemarque and Bluepoint, they're cooking something.
Yeah, I'm sure Bluepoint we'll probably see quite soon because it's been since the
3 years.
Yeah, it hopefully soon we'll see them.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of just been an off year, but also I think it's been an off year with like their head honcho on the way out. Like they're probably just waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, and I think they're also everyone's sort of recalibrating a bit coming into this year.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing releases, we're seeing people returning to studios, we're seeing a normalcy in the market, not in funding, which is leading to all these redundancies. But yeah, it's been a really weird year for them, especially when you consider that, like, we saw a couple of presentations from them this year, and we saw nearly none of this stuff in terms of like single player stuff that we've grown to love from them. We saw stuff for Spider-Man 2, but then it was an overwhelming amount of like cinematic releases for games that we haven't heard of before, new IPs, or more than half of them live service games. We know they've got to focus on that now. So we're looking at Concord, we're looking at Marathon, we're looking at Fair Games from Jade Raymond's new studio. And I'm excited for none of those.
Yeah.
I have faith in none of them.
Mm.
I have no faith in Sony to support them, even if they've got something promising, but it needs a bit of TLC. And we're left without anything else to really look forward to past that. Like, all of these things that you've said, they're all hypothetical. They're all, well, not hypothetical, but they're all unconfirmed. They're all sort of looking at reading the tea leaves. It's all forecasting. It's not us looking at what they've shown us. And we know they can. There's some of the best games of the last 5 years are PlayStation 5 exclusive, like Returnal and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Like, they've got something here, and I just don't understand why. It feels like I just want them to let their studios cook.
Yeah, and
maybe they are. Maybe that's why we're not hearing anything, because they need more time.
Hopefully, and like they've got good IP that they can always lean on, and they should be leaning on that. Like, give me another Rape Escape, for goodness fucking sakes. But like it's also like it's worth pointing out as well that they've like the other side of what Sony's doing is like Marathon is also not looking very good. From Bungie, which is like, you know, not a thing.
Yeah, it's because Bungie's not looking very good.
Totally, but like this is going to be a thing that Sony really want to work, and like they need to do something there. It's awkward. The upcoming game from Sony that I'm most looking forward to is called Death Stranding 2.
Right. Which last we heard was literally more than 12 months ago at the last Game Awards.
Yeah. Yep. And the movie that they're making.
What? Death Stranding movie?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that's happening.
Yeah, it was like shown off, like, well, not shown off, but like A24 is partnering with it.
That's right. They did an announcement. That's right.
Yeah.
Forgot that.
So that's PlayStation.
Yep. Oh, also don't forget price increases on the hardware and on the subscription service.
Oh my God. The thing that breaks my brain is the amount of sales that go on for PlayStation Plus now, and it just gets brought down to the full price of what it used to be.
Uh-huh. Garbage. Garbage.
Nintendo.
I think they're my favorite company from this year.
In
terms of those big ones. It's not Ubisoft or EA.
No.
I mean, they're all gigantic companies, so like, who the hell cares?
Yeah. There's no favorite companies, but they have had the best showing this year. That, like, they've had like an all-time showing this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every decade you get to release a sequel to The Breath of the Wild, and it be as good, if not better, than the first one. But also, they've continued to show support for their system and their ecosystem. We said this before at the end of their last direct, which was in September-ish, where it felt like the swan song for the Switch.
Yeah.
We were looking forward to Mario Wonder and WarioWare, whatever it was called, and then a bit like, a few sort of quiet things, remakes of GBA games and a Princess Peach spin-off. Like, not bad that they're coming. Like, still, you can get excited about those. They'll probably be too much for what you're getting, but like, cost too much. But, you know, that's cool. That's fun. There's stuff there. And Thousand Year Door remake, that's fun. Super Mario RPG, that came out. People really liked it because they really like that game. Cool. No real losses here. No real failures. No real misses.
Like they've had games that didn't hit because they released a lot of games this year. But like overall, it's been incredibly solid. Like,
very positive.
Yeah. Like Metroid Prime, Mario Kart, Booster Course, Legend of Zelda, Mario Wonder, Mario RPG, Pikmin 4. Everybody want to Switch. Sorry, couldn't help myself. WarioWare. They've been putting out bangers evenly throughout the year, which is really hard to do. And they've got a handful more, and that'll be it for the Switch. That's pretty fucking good.
Very good. An excellent system. It'll be very fascinating to see what happens in the next one when whether whatever they bring out next fails or succeeds. There's no guarantee with Nintendo. Also, how much it integrates like backwards compatibility.
It's gonna be backwards compatible.
But then also,
well, like we know it's backwards compatible because what they were showing in behind closed doors was Breath of the Wild.
Right.
So, I know.
It's exciting whatever they decide to come out with next.
Yeah.
But I can't put any faith in anything until I see it from them, basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The sequel to the Wii is such a surefire hit.
Exactly. We'll call it the Wii U.
Yeah. And finally, PC. It's been a funny year for PC, I think, because Valve are now focusing on handheld hardware.
They also released a game this year, don't forget.
Valve released a game this year?
Counter-Strike 2.
Oh my god, I forgot about Counter-Strike 2. Yeah, they did that. It's maybe not as good as CS:GO yet.
People like Counter-Strike 2.
I think that like it's interesting, but like it's also they definitely shut down Counter-Strike Go, and so everybody got very rightfully so upset about that. Meanwhile, Epic have been in court more than anything else, trying to prove that everybody but them is a monopoly, which is fascinating. And also just letting go of a huge percentage of their staff. And Steam are just kind of chugging along in their own weird way. Like, I'm really excited for that. Like, is the Steam Deck OLED to you a thing that is interesting to you? I know you're still not huge on Thingo, but like...
It's too expensive.
Oh, but it's not though.
Yeah, it is, Jeremy, because remember, I don't want to pick up my Switch.
Yeah, but imagine if it could fucking play Elden Ring. You could play Elden Ring.
Play it where? On the couch? Guess what?
Wherever. You play it wherever you want. You can play it on the train.
Jeremy, do you know the last time I got on the train was? I think it was with you coming home from a birthday party. That was the last time I was on a train.
You could go on a train just to play Elden Ring. It's not illegal.
You know, I don't think I would though. I don't think I would pay $8 to $10 to $1,200 without warranty just for the privilege.
No, you get warranty.
Not official warranty. You get Kogan warranty.
Yeah, they replace it. That's warranty. That's the best you're gonna get.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
But still, it's too much money for an experience I would just prefer to have at home. It's just not my bag, baby.
Oh man, you gotta get in there. It's gonna be.
I don't think I do.
It's gonna be the future.
I picked up an Ally at PAX. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I forgot about it.
I can't stop thinking about a Steam Deck. Ever since I picked one up, I don't think I needed it until I picked one up, and that was it.
Jeremy, there's like what I'm feeling right now is like, well, I could play games in my study where I sit right now. How am I going to do that? Well, I was sitting at my desk. I could play stuff on my computer. I don't need a Steam Deck. I could play stuff on the couch. That would be fun. Oh, wait, hang on. All my consoles and my projector are there. I don't need a Steam Deck for that. I could play something in bed. Actually, I don't really want to play games in bed because then I'll never go to sleep when I go to bed, which I already struggle with on its own anyway. If anything, I just want to watch videos when I'm in bed. How can I do that? YouTube on the Switch. I don't need a Steam Deck.
But have you considered laying horizontally and playing Elden Ring? Like this.
I don't want that.
Oh.
It's heavy. Like the Switch is annoying enough. And the Steam Deck is much heavier than it.
Yeah, but it's not like effort to hold it up.
I find playing games handheld in bed actually uncomfortable.
I don't understand at all. It's like my second favorite place to play.
But I'm constantly shifting because like I'm either on my shoulder and then I've got like headphones on and like, but that like is then against the pillar, so that doesn't work. So I got my head like that, so I got to hold this up a little bit. Or then I'm on my back, but I don't have like the pillows behind me to like sit up properly. So I'm like kind of lying down, so I'm kind of holding it, and it's like, and then I'm like, oh, this sucks. And so then I roll over again, and then it's the same problem, and like. Like I'm thinking about the answers to your questions as you ask them. Like it's really not.
Oh, that's the future. It's
the one time I loved playing in bed was when Sam was using this room for some work, and I wanted to keep playing, and we didn't have the projector ready, so I took one of my desk monitors and a power board, and I plugged it in beside the bed with the PlayStation, and I sat up and I got all the pillows right. And I put my screen on the bed and it like wobbled because it's just on the mattress. And I'm like, oh, it needs more firm. So I pulled up the doona and put the monitor on just like the sheet on the bed. And then I sort of like tucked the doona in around it so it didn't cover the screen.
Did you ever?
And that was an excellent 4 hours 4 years ago.
Do you ever not like lay the Switch sideways on a pillow and then you just have the two Joy-Cons disconnected and your arms are just like this?
I've never been able to get the screen set up like that. And again, if I'm in bed, Sam's in bed asleep, so I need headphones. And then the headphones are on or in my ears, in which case lying sideways is not comfortable.
But they patched in Bluetooth at some point, so you can just use your earbuds.
Jeremy, I don't have Bluetooth earbuds.
Yeah, but they patched it in for you. They patched in Bluetooth. Remember when they fucking did that? Anyway.
Yeah, that was fucking wild.
That was so wild. One prediction for next year, and then we're wrapping it up. I've got one for you if you want some time to think.
Please start.
Jeff Keighley purchases E3, the IP, and then that's what he's showing.
E3 is an IP, but go on.
He purchases the name E3 to finally complete his collection.
I hate that.
Yeah. He doesn't want it, but like, fuck, it would be funny if he bought it.
I think he'd love the contrarianness of it because he something went bad with his dealings with E3.
Yeah, he's openly talked shit about E3 in the past. He spoke earlier this year and said the phrase E3 killed itself.
Yeah, I think he would happily
buy it to not do anything with it.
Yeah, but I think it might be too expensive for him.
Maybe. Unless the ESA are like, we're not going to use it, so like a bit of money is a bit of money.
Yeah, but they're not going to hand it off.
No.
They know what they've got. Okay. One announcement from one news item from me. Or new Pokemon Legends game.
Oh God, I hope
Launch title with the Switch.
God, I hope not.
Pokemon animating at more than 30 frames per second.
No, they'll just make it look worse and run worse. Like they'll just new hardware doesn't mean anything to them.
I was just thinking, like, what's like relatively certain? We know we're gonna get Pokemon. We know we're gonna get something Pokemon because we're just getting the DLC for Scarlet and Violet. They'll give us something, and I don't think it'll be a mainline game. I think we'll get a new Legends title.
Black and White remastered. People like those games.
Yeah, but no one likes Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl.
Yeah, but that's because they fucking made it worse.
Yeah, and that's why I went. Bleh.
But that wasn't made by Game Freak.
Yeah, who do you think they're going to get to do Black and White remastered?
Game Freak.
Game Freak are too busy making Legends and Gen 10 badly.
I don't think they're making Legends
to give you Black and White.
I think Legends is not being made anymore.
Don't break my heart like that, Jeremy. It's not funny.
But in like the way that they probably should make another one. Like I think
that was their most positively received Pokemon game out of their last 3 releases.
Yeah, but they could just remake the old ones, but worse. It's so much
Pokemon
easier.
Legends Arceus Remastered.
Jesus.
For Switch 2.
You saw the state of the fucking Detective Pikachu game. Like they're not in the market of making high quality content.
Yeah, they should be though.
Yeah, they really should be. I could weirdly enough see Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remastered dropping at the same time. It's like a double pack.
2 and 3, you said.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd take that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
It would also ameliorate some of the problems with 2 and 3 because neither of them are called masterpieces, whereas one just is.
Yeah.
Or like if they do, maybe they shadow drop 2 and they say 3 is coming out in 3 months. I think if they keep the cadence of like I expect we'll probably see Prime 2 at the February Direct. If they keep that cadence, though, that means we're not seeing Prime 4 for another 2 years, and that seems like too long. And like actually too long. I know development restarted, but like that was actually 2 years ago, maybe more now.
Yeah, right.
So I think it's if they want to get all of the remasters out before 4, they got to speed it up a little bit. Or the game's not great.
Who the fuck knows?
No.
They should make a sequel to Dread.
Oh my god, they should. That's what I'm doing in January. I'm playing Dread.
Yes.
Guaranteed. Probably not in bed though.
No bed Dread.
No Metroid bed Dread.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you made it to the end of this podcast, wow. Thank you. I don't know how we did, but the fact that you did, that's amazing.
Is a doozy.
We probably could have split this second half into 3 halves and had 3 breaks and 4 quarters of this show.
Well, I can't do that.
You can't have more than 2 halves, Jeremy, because then you're dealing with 1.5 podcasts. 3 quarters of an episode. Yeah. Although you could argue that this is more than 1 episode. Hey, we're gonna go now. Thank you so much for listening. This is the MiniMapCast. You could go to our website, minimap.com.au, for everything else Minimap related. Thank you so much for listening. You could follow the Minimap account on social media at MiniMapAU. You could follow us individually as well. Me, Kerry, I'm at KJPalmer_24 on Twitter, or just without the _24 on Blue Sky. Jeremy, where are you on the places?
At Obi-Wan Jez everywhere that isn't Blue Sky, with Blue Sky being jeremy.minimap.com.au.
And yeah, like I said way later in the show than I meant to, go check out Jeremy's year recap. If you're not recapped out, go check out Jeremy's year recap article up on Kotaku. That's Kotaku. Yes, Kotaku.
With a
Jeremy's
K.
article on Kotaku.
Kotaku with a K. So they say.
2 Ks. And yeah, go read that. It's a great read. It's very fun, very lighthearted, and it's
called To Good Games and More Good Video Game Websites.
There you go. I'm very proud of you, Jeremy, for doing that. That's
Thanks.
An amazing little thing.
I appreciate David for writing a better headline than what I sent him.
What was your headline?
Mine was like Jeremy's 2023 list of video game things or something. I wrote the headline at 2 a.m. Like I didn't have a good thing, and I just sent it, and I was like, look, you'll either change it or leave it.
Neat. For those of you that are live with us on Twitch, look, you can stick around. I have no idea if we're going to do a post show or not because it's 1 a.m. For those of you listening to this later, hopefully it's not 1 a.m. Please give us those ratings, or if you enjoyed the show. If you made it all this way, you clearly got something out of it. So again, thank you for being here. If you've got the time, please give the show a rating positively. Keep in mind, everyone, we will be getting some Game of the Year topic content out soon. Probably not live next Monday because that's Christmas Day. Will either be beforehand or afterwards. Stay tuned to our socials or our Discord to get notified and be in the know of that. It'll be out for streaming, podcast streaming, YouTube sometime next week. Lastly, if you wanted to support us to do this late into the night like we do, you could do that by heading on over to patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 Australian bucks, you'll get 24 hours of early access for all episodes of the MiniMapCast. Hey, if you're feeling nostalgic for E3, we have done and we are going to do more watch-alongs of old E3 conferences. It's a really fun time. It helps us out a great bunch too. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to go, and always remember, everybody, no matter how recently you think you've done it, always wash your drink bottles.
Wise words.